What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another Toxic Happy Hour, where we are toxic against scams. Happy is a state of mind, and Bitcoin is quality life. And the tweet that I had prepared is now magically gone. So why don't I just quickly? Oh, that's annoying. I guess it's got to go like this.
Hey man, we're amateurs. I'm used to it.
Yeah, look, we're just hanging out, talking. At least we're out now on Twitter. Anyways, welcome everyone. We've got Daniel Prince and Publord in the house. Daniel Prince is the podcaster behind Once BITten. Welcome, Daniel. Great to finally meet you. And first off, what are you drinking?
Thank you very much, guys, for putting this together. And Guy, it was great to meet you a week or two ago when you were in your pub.
Yeah.
It's been great to see you step up with the memes, and I feel as though your meme, the best of your meming days are to come. They're already brilliant, but there's much more to come. I'm drinking an IPA, a local IPA from our local brewery here, which is one of my favorite beers in the region.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Publord, what are you drinking?
Well, I'm not in the U.S. right now, just overseas, so nighttime here as well as Daniel. But somewhere near the Balkans, I found this little pilsner called Peja.
Nice.
Yeah, just something to try tonight. If
Yeah,
not,
nice.
I can fall back on one. I got a nice German one too for all the German friends out there. You gotta keep your options open.
You have, you definitely have to, and you gotta sample the buffet, right? Especially when you're traveling overseas.
That's the best part of the travel, man. Is the food and the drink and the people, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I'm having my favorite coffee in my United Arab Emirates cup, which is the country in which Dubai is, if anyone has ever been there. But Daniel, so the way we do this is often we go into this without really much preparation. It started by us having conversations about Bitcoin for hours on a weekly basis, and we thought, why don't we just throw that on YouTube, because maybe some people will find something of value in there. But I'm really curious to learn a bit more about you, about your podcast and your journey in Bitcoin, and what you do now. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. And I think it's a great concept, because there's nothing more in the world I would love to do than walk into a random bar and get talking to some random guys about Bitcoin, because that's not happening in real life. So this is a great concept, and I think you're going to do a lot of good in the Bitcoin space. So yeah, I guess how did I find Bitcoin? I guess would be a good place to start. And I had him on recently as a guest, Grant Williams, TTMYGH. It was, well, I'd already known about Bitcoin at that point. I'd known about Bitcoin from 09 or 2010, when it started becoming known as a currency, because I was a foreign exchange broker. So as soon as that started encroaching into the narrative of, oh, this is new money, all of us foreign exchange brokers and my clients foreign exchange traders were like, what a joke. What on earth are they talking about? Like, who do these guys think they are? They can just create money out of thin air? Absolutely retarded. So just like everyone else, the first time you look at it, you just dismiss it. And then knowing Grant in Singapore, and when he started Real Vision with Raul, I brought this up at a dinner with him and said, what about this whole Bitcoin fast thing? Are you ever going to cover anything on that? And he looked at me and he's like, just wait. Just wait. And then I was intrigued. I'm like, right, okay. And then the people they brought onto Real Vision, Wences, Trace, toThe, and I was like, oh my God, there's got to be something to this, because these guys are not dickheads. They're not geeks. These are highly intelligent people that are putting across really intelligent points here. And that's when I really started paying attention to it. That was back in probably 2014, 2015. Didn't run out and buy, unfortunately. That took probably the third touch point. You know, I think that's a common theme for most people. It takes about 3 touch points. So sat in the shadows, lurking. Didn't even really, if you think about, so interacting at the moment with a lot of class 2020 Bitcoiners on Twitter, and I think, my God, these guys are going to push this thing so quick now, because back in 2015, we didn't have these resources. I don't even think Stefan Livera started his podcast till like back in 2016. You know, finding a podcast was difficult. Finding a book was difficult. Finding articles were FUD at the very best. Now these guys coming in, they're like Breedlove, Parker Lewis, Safe.
Yeah.
These podcasts that have been around 4 or 5 years, and these guys that have sharpened their narrative and can cut through any kind of FUD. And you got people like Knut writing books, and Andy Edstrom. And you've got companies like Swan that make it just so easy, or CoinFloor in the UK, or Amber in Australia. And the barrier to entry is almost zero. Whereas you wind it back, it's like, God, we were scrabbling around trying to, I think I made 3 separate wire transfers just to get some cash into Kraken. And Kraken didn't even accept sterling. Like, this is how early shit was, right? You know, it was crazy.
Wait, what's sterling?
Yeah, it's a shitcoin.
But hey, it's the most expensive shitcoin, right? So
yes, that is true. That is true for now. But so I'm a big bull of the new wave, and I think these guys coming in, we fell down the rabbit hole very, very slowly. They're just going to charge down it, and there's going to be guns blazing, and they're going to be so switched on to it, especially with what's going on right now. So that is just another kind of bullish aspect of Bitcoin. I just can't find a bearish topic to talk about.
No, it's I'm with you on that one. I'm curious, when you started Once BITten, tell us about that, and pluck it as like as much as you want. Go crazy.
Sure. Yes, I'd been procrastinating about starting a podcast for a long time, months and months. And then Peter McCormack put out a tweet, how to start a podcast. And it was like a thread about, I don't know, it was anywhere between 10 and 20 tweets. And I was reading it, and I was thinking, if I just follow these steps, then surely I should get some kind of listeners. But then I just put that aside, and I didn't follow up on it. And I don't know if you guys ever listened to the Bit by Bit podcast. It's another Brit guy who does it.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, so
I'll listen now. Okay.
Yeah, so big shout out to at Bit by Bit. He invited me onto the show because he'd seen a few tweets about Bitcoin and thought it was interesting that I'd written a book about leaving the rat race and digital nomads and homeschooling and world schooling and all of this kind of stuff. So I was in London the first week of January. I went and met him, and we did a 3-hour podcast, and just getting to meet his front room and talking to microphones about stuff we deeply cared about and connected with. That was the Kickstarter. That was the real inspiration. And I got back to France, and I met Sir Badminton at Hodler the Now. Big shout out. We met each other. It turns out we live a couple of hours apart, so we met in the middle for a lunch and just Bitcoined ourselves to the max. And I floated the idea to him that I'm thinking about starting a podcast. And he's like, yeah, well, yeah, sure, go for it. I think he probably thought, yeah, whatever, I'll never hear from this guy again.
Right.
But then I went and did it, and it's been the best thing. It's just been so well received and so well supported that I couldn't have asked for anything more. And I, coming from a sales background and being very, very used to 99% of your requests or asks are met with a stone-faced no. When you reach out to perceived OGs in this space, and they pretty much all say yes to come on the show, that has no following and no name and have no idea who you are, it just floored me. And this is I tweet out from time to time, shitcoins need influencers, Bitcoin has educators, and this is why we're in the space, and why people like Breedlove and any podcast, because they know they.
Daniel, we have a little bit of problem with your sound cutting out. I don't know if there's any issues on your. I think it's the connection more than nothing wrong with your audio. That's what I'm seeing here. A couple of network connection for you. It's 1 out of 10. But while we're hoping for that to come back, Publord, can you tell me about how you met Daniel? Because you're really you're the guy who set this up and connected us for happy hour.
Yeah. So Daniel, I found his podcast, and I always thought the guests were interesting. He was fantastic during his interviews, just letting people talk, knowing when to interject, when to just let people go with it. And so I retweeted a few of his tweets with his interview saying, hey, you got to give this guy a listen. And one day he just reached out to me on an answer saying, hey, when beer and Bitcoin talk? And I said this afternoon, and he did it within a day. So his spirit of liking people that come in, or that he's paying it forward. I'm an absolute nobody in this space. I don't have a podcast. I don't have anything. But he was like, hey, let's do this. And that's when a shout out to ToThe, who he jumped on there like, hey, I had like DMs coming out the wazoo saying, hey, I want to get in on this. And we did. And we went live stream. We didn't know each other. 3 of us had never met. And not live stream. I mean, we just talked together, but it flowed so easily. It's like whenever you meet a Bitcoiner, they have the same mindset. They have the same temperament, beliefs. You just get together right away, and you know it. And that's how we initially met. And so after you and I, we were. What do you think we were talking? 10 hours a week, probably. I would say at least, just on our own. And you said, you know what? Let's just, what the hell, go for it. Let's just put this out there. And maybe we can get a guest or two. And Daniel's like, after, we had George on, and Daniel's the next one on. I just reached out to him, and he said, absolutely, count me in. Awesome. And that's the spirit of Bitcoin, man. That's the absolute spirit. I love it.
Totally. It's hard to find more helpful people than Bitcoiners that will spend some of their time, even though we're talking about describing Bitcoin or explaining it to just 5 people or so. What Daniel said reminds me of this thing that OGs are willing to put in time to assist you. So I started a Bitcoin meetup. It's good to see we got more connection on Daniel now. So I started a Bitcoin meetup in 2017 on the exact day of the UASF with the soft fork. And I think just like a month later or something, I had Giacomo Succo and Mir coming and presenting to a group of 6-7 guys that hardly knew what Bitcoin was, and they were on holiday in US, and they spent like 3 hours giving this amazing presentation on Bitcoin that totally blew me away. And it was just so awesome to see that they took an entire evening out of their holiday on another continent to explain to like 5, 6, 7, 8 guys what Bitcoin was about. So Daniel, glad to see you back with good connection now. Let's take advantage of that. What kind of subjects do you touch upon in Once BITten?
Anything and everything as much as possible, hopefully. Excuse me. Recently, getting very much interested by all roads lead to Bitcoin, right? And so one of the reasons that came on was completely out of left field, not a Bitcoiner, of a life biosciences company and co-founder. And when I was introducing him, I was like, man, one, you're so going to the rabbit hole. But two, every Bitcoiner out there is going to now, because of the time preference, mindset shift, we're going to be looking at longevity very, very, and to fall into these rabbit holes that you would never have ever have been exposed to these kind of people and these kind of ideas. And what he's talking about was absolutely crazy. Living for hundreds of years. I mean, imagine that. Imagine seeing the last blind. And this is crazy. And as Guy knows, getting exposed to professional athletes that are Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
And what a rabbit hole that's turning into. Having Lucky Mukasana on the show and him coming on and sharing his story of playing with Raul and winning championships, the mindset shift and wanting to play. Bitcoin has affected his game. And he's now introduced me to a boxer, so a professional boxer who's stacking stats is going to come on and talk about how, so it's, I'm game to any kind of topic, but love getting pulled in these different directions and showcasing to as many people as possible that it doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, Bitcoin is for you.
Absolutely. I can totally recognize this thing you're saying, that all roads lead to Bitcoin. Any conversation I have with anyone, I can bring up, like, Bitcoin just becomes natural to me in in a few minutes. So sometimes I got to control myself as much as I want to pitch it. I don't want to annoy people too much. But it's hard not to bring up Bitcoin, and because if people are talking about their problems, it's like, yeah, that's because we have fiat currency that is diluting your savings and causing all these problems, and Bitcoin is the answer. What's your take on that, Publord?
Well, again, one of the things I loved about Daniel's podcast was it's just a broad spectrum of guests that he brings on the show and how Bitcoin has really impacted their life. And one thing that's amazing, and I know him at the time, but literally, Lucky Mukasana, he's playing professional football less than an hour from my house, and he and I have been able to reach out and touch base. Now he's from Zimbabwe, which of course, the reasons for him owning Bitcoin in that country is a lot different than what I would need in the West. In the West, something you hedge against not only the inflation, but something that's unconfiscatable, something that you can keep. Whereas there, some of the countries in Africa and South America, Venezuela, you look at Argentina, they're sort of fighting for their hyperinflationary lives right now. But I met him, and here's what's interesting. Through talking to him, we found out we have a mutual friend, and a man who was born in Ghana, educated in Cuba, is a doctor in the U.S. So Lucky and I found out through Bitcoin and through Daniel Prince, we find out this mutual friend is such a small community when you get down to it. I'm always amazed by that.
Yeah, and it just really reminds you of how early days they are. And as I often tell people, so You know, I've been around for a few years, not in Bitcoin, but, you know, in general.
Yeah.
And I read an article on the internet in 1995, and was totally blown away. Like, this is the future. So I started an internet company in '96, and still in '96 it was still easier to explain and get people excited about the internet than Bitcoin in 2020, because I guess people haven't been exposed to this government propaganda that inflation is good, Bitcoin is money laundering, Bitcoin is terrorism, Bitcoin is all these kind of criminal drug money, whatever. And what I also try and remind people is that, look, the biggest cases of money laundering is with the banks and fiat currency. Also, the greatest terror event ever in the world, 9/11, that was like 8 years before Bitcoin. That was, you know, if any money was involved, that was United States dollars. So terror and money laundering and drugs don't need Bitcoin. Bitcoin is just a better money. Don't follow the propaganda. That being said, Publord and Daniel, can you take over the show for 1 minute? Because I got to go get something cold in my drink.
Oh, dude,
we're just having a happy hour here. We're just informal.
No, absolutely. I think it's hilarious. You know, like, you know, you're talking about Bitcoin being all this for terrorists and drug runners. When what's the most untraceable thing you can have? Cash. If you want to do anything, it's in every cliche movie from the 70s, 80s, 60s. Is you had cash that was really untraceable. So I find it laughable. You talk about something like Bitcoin being this, I don't know, I guess is harbinger of death by terrorism, the classic FUD.
Yeah, it's nonsense. I hope anyone listening and anybody that comes in realizes straight away that it's classic FUD.
Well,
guys,
see, you know, you're back and ready to go?
Yeah, I just want to join you guys with a
there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what we call people that drink a beer before noon? Pirates, my friend. Pirates.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Break up the
what
rum,
is it?
too.
What was that? What was that you just poured out?
So,
one for his homies.
I believe it
Modelo?
might be Mexican Cerveza Modelo Special golden full flavored Pilsner style lager with a clean, crisp finish. I can.
You're going full Danish right now, man.
No, actually, what in language or?
It's Modelo. It's a Mexican beer. Remember where you are? Yeah, I know.
I don't have any Carlsberg in my fridge. Although Tuborg is what I recommend.
Oh yes, the ladies love it.
Cheers, guys! It's 5 p.m. somewhere. Don't forget.
Exactly.
Maybe not here, but somewhere. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Awesome.
To the moon.
Daniel. Sorry, to the moon. To the moon.
To the moon.
Yeah. Is there any beer called Moon or something? I don't know. It rings a bell somehow. Am I just exposed to Bitcoin Twitter too much?
No, but it's amazing you bring that up, because I got to segue into something here.
Okay, that's what we're here for.
And this is a true story. Pandemic hits, and I get to telework, but I have so much time on my hand. Even teleworking got so much time. So I always keep a list of books that I'm going to, you know, I got Bitcoin books. I got all these books that I'm adding, you know, I just like to read and read and read. So I had a book I had ordered back in March, and it was like 6 down in the list of what we're going to do. So I'm reading through all these others, some classics, some outside the line. And then we get the Giga Chad, Michael Saylor, Bring It Up. And this is a true story.
The moon is harsh mistress. Right. Yeah.
He talks about it in all his interviews. And I had this sitting on my, and I hadn't read it. and you talk about this like symbiotic relationship with Bitcoiners. Like, what are the I'm sitting there like, what are the odds this guy that buys all this Bitcoin, this is one of his favorite books? And I'm laughing because I had just ordered it, Bitcoin, just ordered to have it sitting on my shelf ready to go. And yeah.
How deep are you into it? Are you deep into it? Have you started reading it?
I did on my flight over. I'm just 100 pages in. But absolutely, it's on point so far. It's on point. I'm a big Ayn Rand fan. Full disclosure. But yeah, this is it's quite good. I'm really getting into it and enjoying it. And just recommend reading for me. I would say, hey, it's hard to read things that are bad for you. You always come out with something, another tool for the toolkit.
It's funny you bring up Ayn Rand because I was in London some point last year, staying with a friend.
Yeah,
I think we were drunk and come home and I had a flight home the next day, and I remember saying to him, I need to grab a book. What's the one book that's, changed your mindset on everything?
Yeah.
And he's like, Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
Bam. Atlas Shrugged. And he pulled his copy off and he just threw it at me, and it was all torn up. And, I mean, it's now in the grave. But I was, wow. Like, man. And it's such a Bitcoin book. It is such a Bitcoin book. It's crazy.
Yeah, the Francisco D'Antonio, the speech on money, it's a classic. You could just read that speech on money, what it is, where it comes from, what it represents. So yeah, what's interesting to me is, and people say, well, how do you find Bitcoin? And people say, well, like you say, you're touched 3 times by hearing about it. But what you don't talk about is the seed was buried a long time ago. The seed was buried in different books that you've read. Like the Creature from Jekyll Island I had read many years ago, and just thought, yeah, I get it, but what the hell are we going to do? That's all we got is the Fed. When you read those books, it just sits there and germinates. And it's once you find Bitcoin, man, that's the water, that's the sun. It's finding something that's going to grow. The seed that you've been really keeping inside is going to come out. And Ayn Rand is one part of that part that just resonated with me.
The truth shall not be hidden. So was that the seed being planted for you, Publord? Jekyll Island book?
Oh, that's what. Oh, yeah. The entire founding of the Federal Reserve is just ridiculous on so many levels. To the point, they actually designed the eagle to be their crescent or representative because it seemed federal, it seemed official. To this day, if you ask people here who works at the Federal Reserve, they'll think it's government officials. They'll think it's someone that is government related. That's how brilliant they are at hiding these things. Truly, if you ask anyone about the Federal Reserve, they have no idea. It's just an independent organization, which basically just has full run of monetary policy, non-elected officials. It's amazing.
As I understand, it's a private entity that is for profit, right? Is the ownership of the Fed, is that public knowledge?
Well, no. Well, here's the worst part. They cannot be called before Congress to answer questions. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. They can be called before Congress. They could say, we don't have to tell you that. That's the kind of power they have here.
Yeah. Amazing. Daniel, what's your take on central banks?
I had no idea about all of this, and it was Breedlove that really opened my eyes to it. And it's that book he talks about, Creature from Jekyll Island, which I've still yet to read. I've dipped in and out of it, but I've not given it the full read yet. But then somebody was tweeting out just a day or two ago the documentary from the early 2000s of the guy standing outside of the Federal Reserve, and I've retweeted it. and him explaining, well, there's nothing federal about it.
Yeah,
it's
nothing.
not a government institution. It's a privately owned company. That blows your mind, and it has no reserve. So
yeah, there's no reserve.
But it's on Constitutional Avenue, I think he said, right downtown where all the other big, like, governmental official buildings are. It's perfect sleight of hand. And as Breedlove explained, like, I don't know, a handful of private backers who get a dividend.
Yeah.
It's there's stakeholders, and they get a dividend from, like, behavior that's completely unchecked, unaudited. Nobody knows who those stakeholders are. It's madness. It's like this secret. It's like the Illuminati, right? Was that in the Da Vinci Code? Like, it's like those guys own. It's just this secret society.
No one knows.
It's madness.
Absolutely. So I haven't looked into it, but does the federal government reserve show some profit coming out of the Fed being sent to the federal government, the U.S. citizens? And I guess since the Fed is not audited, you're not allowed to audit what's going on. They could send 5% of the profit to the Fed to appear federal, to appear to be in the best interest of, the United States citizens, and in other countries, their citizens. Do you guys know that? Does it appear on the budget, or is there magically no profit for printing money and being able to lend it out for a percentage or interest rate, even though it didn't cost you anything?
So I'll take this one and probably make it into a meme. A fantastic movie is Wolf of Wall Street, and one of the favorite scenes is Matthew McConaughey, taking Leo DiCaprio out to lunch the first time. It's a Fagaza. It's a helicopter money. You just don't let it land. You don't let it land. Ever. They don't let it land. What the hell else you got to do? You can't let this money land because it's not money. It's hope and dreams. Is you getting someone to give you your cash. But how ridiculous is it? I'll find it. I have a good YouTube clip that someone was explaining the creation of money. And I think, was it Ray Dalio has a classic at 30 minutes long. One where, imagine someone tells you, listen, we're going to give you all power and authority to issue out credit to people. You get to take 28% from them. You get nothing. So every time you get $1, you can lend out 100 other people. It's worse than a Ponzi scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme on steroids, to be honest with you. What we have here.
It's the biggest and most evil scam in the world, in the history of the world, in my opinion. And there probably wasn't any bigger terrorist than John Maynard Keynes or whatever. I don't know if he's done. Maybe he was, with good intentions, but I mean, clearly this is just hurting people because the poorer you are, the bigger percentage of your savings are in fiat currency, because
of course,
richer people either own a house or stocks, and whenever the interest rate goes down, whenever the money supply is diluted, fiat currency supply, because money can store value, and fiat currency obviously cannot store value. Whenever that happens, that really hurts anyone with fiat. And if you're holding 100% of your savings in fiat, you're taking 100% of the pain. But if you have 90%, say, of your savings or wealth in assets, that 90% is going to go up drastically because as the interest rate goes down, assets go up, because with the same amount of profit, because your requirement or the market's requirement for a return that is matching the interest rate, all of a sudden the value of the asset just rise dramatically. I mean, basically, if you cut the interest rate in half, assets more or less double in price, at least with some time lag effect. Daniel, just a question: do you think there's anything you can do with your connection? Oh, wait, now you're looking actually really good. Daniel, as Pablo was talking about before, with that initial seed being planted way before we even discovered Bitcoin. Do you recall you worked in finance? Do you recall you yourself, being skeptical of something somehow? What was the initial seed for you, if you can recall?
Ooh. When I was working in that business, you never, it was so intangible, like, you never let the money land sort of thing. Sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars would have passed through my body. I wouldn't have touched a thing. It was all numbers on a screen. It was Bank A buying a contract from Bank B in $150 million, and bam, it took anywhere between 5 minutes to an hour and a half, perhaps, to finesse the trade and get it all done and brokered and find the right buyer and find the right seller. And this was going on every second of every day across multiple companies, buy side and sell side, in every country around the world. And I look back now, like, where the hell, where was it coming from? Where was it going? And why was it going there? And it's just, it's just mad to even think about it. And, that analogy of just don't let the money land is brilliant, because if it all landed, the money landing is everybody queuing up at the counter and saying, "Can I have my cash?" And then the whole gig is up.
Bitcoin's a gravity, man. Bitcoin's a gravity. It's going to pull it down, baby. We'll get it out of the air. That's the value.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's great. I'll point this in. One of my favorite things on Daniel's podcast is usually it's his daughter Lauren that does the first question. His son he brought in when Lucky was there because he's a footballer. But the last one, I think, was an older daughter. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just listened to Parker Lewis, and she had been asked a question by her teacher. Well, the whole class was about inflation. She's the only one that understood what the hell inflation was to begin with. Mm-hmm. And Parker was impressed, like, wow, a kid this age knows about inflation. That's just one of the reasons I love the podcast is, man, it's not only other people, it's family, it's friends. This localized way of explaining what the world is going to be like. So when you hear stories from Daniel, world schooling his children, he's got the right choice in mind, in my opinion. So tell me, I'm curious, Dave, so inflation-wise, where are we at? When you think about like the CPI, this handpicked, well, I'm not going to jump in there on that, but with CPI, what do you think the true inflation is really? When Michael Saylor talks about this ice cube that is melting, how fast is it melting?
Yeah, it's Saylor that's been talking about this and really doing a great job of educating myself and many others to the point of, of course the CPI is cherry picked and hand picked. What government number isn't, right? The non-farm payrolls are as well. They're complete nonsense. Right. And when it takes someone like him with $500 million to really uncover, because you and I, we're not going to, the guy on the street doesn't have that problem. We don't understand it. But if somebody is trying to look after $500 million and then they realize the real rate of inflation, he was talking about anywhere between 20 and 25%. When you look at when you look at real estate, yes, of course, it's obvious. It's completely obvious. When you look at the cost of long-term bonds, you're like, oh my god, yeah, of course it's obvious. When you're looking at the stock market, It's obvious. I mean, the stock market in the last, God knows, what was since Trump won the election, what's the stock market up? 100? I don't know, like
president
ridiculous
aside,
amount.
They're going to be, yeah. No, I was going to say, president aside, any president will be happy for the Federal Reserve to pump out some cash, guaranteed.
Right.
Because
as long as the stock
like you
market,
say, UBI for the rich, right? Yep.
And most people, you talk to anybody off the street, and they will watch the news, and if that's their daily news, and if the news says the economy's good because the stock market's high, they think the economy's good. There's no further questions, none.
Yeah.
And they've probably never worked in a job that has ever been anywhere near close to financial markets, or all they understand at the very, very basic level is I put my money in a bank and I can take it out with my credit card or my debit card. We're not taught to ask any more questions than that. And it's certainly not offered up.
So I want to ask you a question because I mean I heard you on the podcast describing your early days being the runner, being the guy, being a runner. Everyone's got to go through. You got to go through that shit show of do as I say. You know, I want my lunch here, and I want my sandwich, and I want the lettuce on the side. But at what point do you think the financial industry changed? When did it really change for you? As far as it went from, you know what, I believe in this, and you buy a good proper stock, you buy a proper bond. At what junction do you realize this is a fucking shit show? Sorry about that. Clown show. Yeah.
08, 09, after the global financial crisis. That's when I was like, what? How can these markets be going up? This doesn't make any sense. And I remember vividly sitting at my desk and learning the news of Lehman Brothers and then Bear Stearns and all of that unraveling. That made sense. Like the unraveling made sense. There was always going to be pain on the street. That made sense. When it started rebounding the way it did, that didn't make sense. And it still doesn't. And we're 12 years into that. And I've been questioning it every day ever since. And I can't, now, because of Bitcoin, now I understand. I understand about the Cantillon effect. I understand about seigniorage. I understand about printing money. And I understand about all of these numbers that I just made up or cherry picked, and politicians pumping their own bags. Let's look at Trump, right? Classic example.
Yeah.
In his private portfolio, what does he have? A shit ton of commercial real estate in Manhattan and New York, right?
Yeah.
That shit should be cratering. That should be going down hard.
Yeah.
What's he going to do to protect that?
Well, there's not much. There's a lot of people. I know quite a few friends from New York that are leaving right now. They don't want to stay there anymore. So they're on their way out. There's nothing protecting it.
Nothing except printing, because they print the money, they flood the system. People go and buy the apartments because they get cheap rent and they think it's a good deal and they think the prices are going to come back. And meanwhile, all those people that are holding those apartments and they're selling for a reason. They're dumping their bags because they know this is the top.
Right.
Is there a clean exit out of this? What's the cleanest way out?
Let me describe. Sorry, what are you saying, Daniel?
Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's true. So I've been thinking about exactly this the last couple of weeks, and I know that would sound totally like clickbait, but I actually started to believe that we will see another crash like 1929. Like monster crash, but we're not going to see it as long as money printing fiat currency printing is happening. That clearly is propping up assets for very good reason. Artificially low interest rate is going to keep pumping assets higher. But the day that artificial interest rates artificially 0%, artificially negative. Once that goes away, those assets being propped up by free money, or even money where with negative interest rate, you're actually being rewarded for borrowing money. When that goes away, those assets are going to come tumbling down in a 1929 kind of crash. And that's going to happen when Bitcoin takes over as money of the world. Because once Bitcoin is money, no one can artificially manipulate the interest rate. The interest rate will find its natural level, whether that be 5% or 8% or 4%. But there's going to be an interest rate that no central bank can manipulate. In fact, the central banks will be pretty much irrelevant. Their best hope is to be the cold storage of the governments that early enough buy some Bitcoin. Otherwise, they're actually irrelevant. They can't, nobody wants the fiat currency they're printing anymore. So the way I see it, as fiat currency is being pushed out by Bitcoin, Bitcoin takes over as money of the world. These artificially low interest rates, they're going to go away, and real estate and stocks will crash very hard. The one thing that won't crash of any asset, especially, is Bitcoin, because that is the disruptor. So, and that's why my opinion, I used to be thinking, personally, I'm very, very dedicated to Bitcoin. But there's some people that I like manage, family members. I help them with their portfolios, and I used to think that I want to be conservative. We've got good time on our hands. Bitcoin shouldn't take up more than a small double-digit percentage, because having too much in one asset can be dangerous if anything happens to that asset that we can't foresee. But the way I look at it now, anything that is not Bitcoin is a dangerous asset. Anything that is not Bitcoin, be ready to lose your money. Publord, you had a point. Please jump in.
Yeah, and this goes back to Daniel and his podcast with Parker Lewis, which I loved, about inflation. And what he nailed on the head, Parker Lewis, was, guess what? There's a couple kinds of inflation here. There's inflation by the country is pumping money into the system, but there's also the natural kind of inflation that you want. You build a product, okay? You build a product that people just want. They want it, and the price goes up because guess what? You're giving quality to the world. You're designing something for the world, and that's what's best here. So I would say inflation does get a bad rap sometimes, because as Bitcoiners, we always assume that inflation is money, money, money. However, you know what? There's a proper time for a certain level of inflation, because you're putting something out there that the people want. That's all.
Yeah, I took that away from Parker as well, and I spoke with my daughter about that on the way to school again the other day. Said, bring this up next time in your economics lesson. And it's really actually inflation should be an indicator, right? If we were on a sound money system, inflation or deflation of your good or service should be an indicator of whether or not you are providing a good enough product or service, or whether you need to up your game. It goes hand with supply and demand. But because, and to Parker's point, because our communication's just been jammed so badly with all of this noise from institutions, and all of this sleight of hand and wizardry, we have no idea. We cannot communicate with each other. If money is 50% of transaction, you can just say pretty much money is communication. And if we can't communicate with each other, true price discovery, then we never get to know the price. I mean, the housing market at the moment in the UK is going through the roof. Yeah, through the roof. And people are selling houses for £100,000 over asking within a week. And everyone's moaning about the estate agents. How are they pricing this? Well, how could they possibly price it? 100 billion was printed into the economy. The communication channels were jammed. You may as well be shouting into it like a cave, because
absolutely. I want to add a point on that. In the meantime, Daniel, I don't know if you. There is a bit of connection problem with you, which unfortunately hurts the audio. Sometimes you're cutting out a little bit. I don't know if you can, if you want to restart or I don't know, try and do something. You have the link already. You can jump in again.
Yeah.
But I just want to add to that, that is that. Price discovery, it has become really, really hard on any asset, really. And Daniel just spoke about real estate. And this is something I've been saying for a while. Central banks that people, claim are capitalist institutions are the closest almost you can come to communism, because what is capitalism? That is free market, supply and demand. Does the price discovery, if something goes up in price, there's an incentive for others to join the production, expand that, and give people what they want. If price goes down, you better allocate your resources to other production that people actually want. So capitalism is free market price discovery. Communism is central committee deciding the price of any goods or service. And in the central bank, you have a small committee of academic people claiming to know what's best for you, 300 million people in US, and they set the price across the board for money. The price of money is the interest rate. That is the price you pay for money. That's the time premium you're paying for money. Yet in a capitalist society, that is communistically controlled. And we're talking about, this is half the economy. Money is making up half the economy, because on one side of every single transaction is money, or fiat currency as it is. And when that half of the of the economy is communist right there, and then you can look at the other half, which is the goods and services. A certain percentage of that is companies, and a certain percentage of that is government. So you can take, let's say, random number, 30% of GDP is made up of government services. Then you have the first 50% is basically communist price style control, or price communist style control. 30% of the last 50% may be government services. So that's another 15%. You add it up, you got 65% of the so-called capitalist society actually being a communist, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to Bitcoin changing that and us getting back to free market allocation of the price of money and allocation of money and resources to where production does best, instead of building houses when we don't really need to build houses, but simply because houses have gone up artificially. What's your take on that, Pablo, on a scale from 1 to 10? How communist do you consider central banks to be? I mean, you don't have to agree with me.
No, of course not. No, banks in general. The communistic, in a way, is they're failures, but now even a country that is just called a capitalist country, but I call it a crony capitalism. So you go into a bank today and you look on the wall and you see 0.1% as your savings rate that they will pay you. And they put out the credit card right back to you at 25%. That's fucked up already. Okay,
everyone knows a slight profit margin right there.
Yeah, just a slight one. So on the ideas of communism, capitalism, what we have here in this country is crony capitalism. It's not true market to market. Crony is friendship to friendship, backdoor deals, and here's what we're stuck with. I would say when it comes to the banking system, look, caveat emptor. You get, buyer beware. Everyone should know this by now. If they don't, well, they haven't educated themselves too well. So
Right.
I don't feel, I lost my empathy card, I guess, on the way in. Look, if you don't get it by now, you just won't get it. If you don't see it by now, people see it and feel it. They don't know what to do. That's the problem. They don't know what to do. And that's the next stage for Bitcoin to me is, listen, we got the interfaces, a big one. How do we get people to steal? How do we get them to take it offline where you don't taking everyone off the street and trying to teach them how to memorize a 24-word, seed phrase? I don't know.
Welcome back, Daniel. We're happy to have you. I hope we're doing better. Otherwise, I don't know if your stream comes over to my computer before it goes out with Restream. Honestly, I need to get myself a new computer. I got myself a new computer a couple of months ago. I'm quite disappointed. I may also need to get a Wi-Fi router. But you know what? I have to depart with sats, or basically buy less sats to get that. And that is hurtful, because as much as I love doing this, we're doing it for the fun. So I don't know, but let's get the pool going and allocate some stats.
I know exactly what you mean. I hope it's better. I went downstairs and I kicked a lot of kids off Netflix and whatever else. And so I'm hoping, and I did a full reboot, but big secret, I don't think it's the kids' fault. I am downloading the blockchain at the moment, so that could be, that might have something to do with our bandwidth. So I have no idea. But
are you downloading right now, or are you downloading something?
Yeah, the blockchain.
Oh,
for my node. So
great timing, Daniel. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Node shaming. Node shaming is a thing now, apparently. Oh, you're not running a node?
But you know what? I think that is in a very good cause, and it's probably more important than the toxic happy hour. So I gotta say, I fully support updating your node. Milton,
we have a new lager.
Nice.
Something new.
A Pilsner. You went from IPA to Pilsner.
I did. It's a bold move to go from IPA to Pilsner, but I dug it out of the fridge, and I know Guy was drinking a German beer, so I thought I'd join him.
Yeah, and I think in Denmark you pretty much grow up with Pilsner. I think that's the main beer we drink. So it's a bit like drinking a glass of milk or a cup of water. At least once your parents allow you.
Well, that is Carlsberg, isn't it?
Carlsberg, Tuborg, Shiraz. There's lots of different ones. So Carlsberg always associated themselves with sport, like they were the sponsor of Liverpool for a long time. Tuborg has sponsored or associated themselves with music. And for whatever reason, when we went to school, Tuborg, that was kind of that was our thing. So that's what I grew up with, Tuborg is good.
We need some artisanal Bitcoin brewers out there to make some good Bitcoin beers.
We'll be fine at the Citadel for sure.
Yes.
There's an idea for you, and it should be called something like the Moon Lager or something like that. That's what I'm looking for.
The artists in the space would have such a great time designing beer labels for Bitcoin brewers, Bitcoin microbreweries, and it would just be so much fun. There's going to be, think of the businesses that are going to spring up on the back of this. And again, right, if the beer's shit, you're going to get found out, because it's going to be free market, kind of capitalist.
Yeah.
No one's going to stand for crap.
Right. I agree. Bitcoin, as I say in the introduction, is quality life. And the way I see it, governments and central banks, they don't have a say because this is decentralized. Just like they could shut down Napster because it was a centralized organization. A bit like the Ethereum Foundation, notch, notch. But Bitcoin was built like BitTorrent, which replaced Napster, which is decentralized, so government cannot shut down BitTorrent. Bitcoin is built the same way. It's decentralized, running on nodes across computers, across the globe. And that's why it's pretty untouchable. The only, I guess, thing in danger for people in Bitcoin is the central entities like BitMEX. When you have a central entity, you can be a danger. But otherwise, it's decentralized money. You can carry it across the border in your memory. That's one thing I just think is a huge, killer app of Bitcoin. Another killer app, as Publord, you've been telling me about, which is, I guess, common knowledge, but no one can take your money from you. It's really
quick question. Have you both memorized your words yet? 12 or 24, or how many you have?
For a good reason, I haven't. I don't want to, and this is actually, thanks for that question. I want to make sure that if somebody wants to put a gun to my face, I don't even have the option of handing over the little sats I have. Unfortunately, I'm not really an OG, but the little I have, I do want to be in possession of it 2030 when 0.1 Bitcoin is financial independence. I don't want to be in the position where anyone can put a gun to my head or torture me and I can give anything up. No way. My kids are too important for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep mine on Coinbase, so I have a card I give out with Brian Armstrong's name. I say, hey, if you can get to this guy, you got it. Go.
Right. Yeah,
love it.
I hope it works.
The reason I asked was because have you guys read a book called Moonwalking with Einstein?
No. Tell us
Enlighten
about it.
us.
It's about the world's memory championship circuit.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah, and all of like the crazy guys and gals that are a part of that subculture. And I tried to reach the author because the author goes on one of these Louis Theroux style, deep journalist journeys into this murky world of memory championships. But I couldn't get hold of the author, but I did get hold of the guy that coached him and was written about extensively in the book. And his name is Ed Cook. And he is the co-founder of Memrise, the language learning app, which has been around for 10 years. And I had Ed on the show, and I'll be releasing that over the next 10 days. And he teaches you how to memorize anywhere up to 24 words. 24 words to him is a walk in the park. We do an exercise with 12 words, and it'll blow your mind. But, there are very simple techniques that we can do. So if Danish HODL, if for whatever reason you were pushed, like you did need to leave that country and you wanted to get out and you didn't want to take your hard wallet and whatever else, there is a way you can learn this in a very, very short amount of time. And it's really, really fascinating. And I can't wait to drop the episode. It's going to be cool.
Awesome. Please share it with us and tweet it out and we'll retweet it. So what I heard years ago, I think before I even heard about Bitcoin for the second time, because I also totally disregarded the first time, right? I could have been buying Bitcoin at $2, but I didn't like the word mining on the internet. I was like, that's, there's no physical, you can't mine on the internet. Man, if you hadn't chosen the word mining, because I thought it was World of Warcraft computer money or something, just like use a word like the computers ensuring the security of the network. I probably would have been buying Bitcoin at $2, but no. But I remember before hearing about Bitcoin the second time, hearing also about this, how to memorize something difficult, and like, for instance, a lot of like a long digit number, and you gotta make a story in your head where you visualize it. So you have different rooms, and within that room something is happening, and somehow you associate the name, the word, the number, whatever, and that story is easier to memorize. Am I onto something here, Daniel? Or
yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
I would jump in to say, it's called mnemonics. You make up this crazy story. For me, if I get the word 0, I think about number of World Cups won by Denmark. That's what I do.
Oh wait, we have a connection. We have a. Oh, I think we just lost. We lost Publord there. And it's back. I'm sorry, there was a connection problem there, Publord. You're out. But
but it was Euro 92, or was it Euro 92 or Euro 88?
Bingo.
Euro 92. Unbelievable.
A country this size, of 1/3 of LA County, has won the Euro Cup, and on the way we beat France, Holland, and Germany. I don't know if you heard about those countries in soccer, but they've done okay in the past.
They're not bad.
They're not bad. So 2-0 clean sheet in the Euro final 1992, and because we're so small, because we can't win anything theoretically in football, that is something, as a Dane, you can live on it for the rest of your life. Like, we have won more than we're supposed to for 100 years.
That's what you can do. Listen, the English aren't far behind, man. And I'm a big George Best fan. I put that out the other day. Love George Best. That 66 team in England. I mean, what a World Cup that was.
Yeah. Let's focus on that. Let's not bring up the fact that Denmark beat England yesterday with another clean sheet. Daniel, I'm not going to bring it up.
No, not at all.
But hey, what I will say is, I read afterwards, I didn't see the game, but I read afterwards that the Spanish referee was the only person on the stadium that saw the penalty that Denmark was awarded, at which Christian Eriksen scored. So no one else saw the penalty, apparently, being committed, but we were granted. But yeah, probably not fair, but we'll take the 3 points.
Wow. I mean, what was it? Are they using the VO stuff? I don't even know. I recently. The VAR.
Yeah, I don't know in the Nations League. So this is Nations League.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was going to ask you. Come on, you're British. You're British. You gotta educate me on football.
I don't know what that is. That's like Ethereum.
Yeah, I thought you just had Brexit.
It's the DeFi of football.
It's the DeFi. Yeah, exactly. It's the DeFi of the Euros that never happened when we should have had the Euros this year, which would have been amazing. You know, that would have rekindled my love of football again. Having the Euros and truly split up across the European nations would have been great.
Absolutely,
So,
it was my first time ever to with the chance of getting some tickets and go actually watch some of these important cup games in Denmark. I'm lucky to know a guy that he used to play football with Mbappe on the youth level. Unfortunately, he got injured, which happens to a lot of these talents, and he couldn't. But he's still very much in the football community active. That's where he started a company. That's where he's making his living.
We just got something in the chat here. John M has said Nations League is a crappy competition that's replaced friendlies. Okay, that makes sense. So I guess they're trying to make friendlies more interesting.
Right.
Okay, I get it. And
so
BTC Moon Guy as well. Casa Hold has no recovery seed words. No need to stress on that. Okay.
Can I just I want to do a staple shout out here. This is probably the most permanent part of the Toxic Happy Hour, and that's a shout out to BTC Moon Guy.
That's true.
BTC Moon Guy,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're doing. If you're watching this from a job somewhere, kudos to you. BTC Moon Guy shows up
Every time, man.
every single happy hour. Contact me in DMs if you want to join the happy hour. Yeah,
let's go. BTC Moon Guy, let's go. Let's get on.
Let me tell you, I think a bit of history of BTC Moon Guy. So let's go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning. Like, I heard about Bitcoin. There's this girl that I was talking to. She was so angry because her boyfriend, she had told years ago. She had friends from like 2013 that were telling her about Bitcoin, and he refused to buy. So 2017, I hear this thing from her, like, that MFer never told me to buy it. I wanted to, he wouldn't do it. So I'm like, wait, what was this Bitcoin? I heard it before, and as Anders said, it was to you like the money issue. To me, I thought it was like the magic internet money. I thought it was just gamers use this Bitcoin to pay for, like, oh, I got a magical axe. I don't know. And I'm laughing at it because as I jumped forward, I started reading about it. I'm like, wait, holy shit! Everything I read about Ayn Rand, everything. Wait, this could possibly be a solution. I started reading about it, and I went all in, man. I told him at the end of 2017. I had no idea what Bitcoin Cash was. Bitcoin. I said, "There's only four things on Coinbase. I'm going all in on each of them. One of them may hit. Litecoin,
25%, 25%. Yeah. What a portfolio! Woo!
Well, and Litecoin was faster at the time. Remember? I didn't know about FUD. I didn't know about any of this. I just went all in. So it took me a while. I got in there, but this is going full circle back to Mr. Adam Meister, man, the Bitcoin Meister I ran into. No fancy sets or graphics. But he was always the one from the beginning. It's like, listen, don't get full. Stick with the king. Stick with the king. And absolutely. I did, man. He turned me off there. That's where I met Anders. So yeah, shout out to Adam on that one.
Yeah. Big shout out to Adam Meister. I think a lot of us watched his show in our early days, discovering a Bitcoin. Strong hand, 2020 halving. I remember back years ago when he was saying 2020 halving. It was this like magic milestone in the future where like that's gonna be so good and it's gonna really help the price of Bitcoin. And I just want to say one thing about it's like sometimes the ethos of Bitcoin is we can't talk about price because one BTC is equals one BTC. I totally agree to that. But what I will say about price is, to me, it's a measure stick on how far we are in hyper Bitcoinization. So to me, it's important because it's showing us how close we are to infinity. When has Bitcoin taken over to as money of the world? And also another important point, I think, and advantage of the Bitcoin price going up is that so developers, Bitcoin core developers holding Bitcoin or be hired by that are being financed by companies that do hold Bitcoin, like Blockstream. There's more money available for them to do their work as the price of Bitcoin goes up. And hardcore developers who are among the smartest people on the planet when it comes to programming, some of the best programmers, all of a sudden can, instead of having a job and spend some weekend hours on improving the Bitcoin protocol, all of a sudden they can achieve financial independence and focus full time on Bitcoin development. So to me, the price of Bitcoin is going up, it's a great thing, and it's something to focus on. It's okay.
I fucking love it.
So let me jump in on this first. Let me jump in on this one, because this one came. I saw part one of the interview Michael Saylor with Peter McCormick, and he had a great point. Him moving forward, you cannot have a better advocate for Bitcoin than Michael Saylor. There is no one that you could have ever wished for to come in and take charge. Because you know what he's talking about now? He's saying, I owe it to the Bitcoin community. He loves the fact, the meme about the angry hornets, for example. You see the meme about this. He loves the fact that people will literally die for this dream. They will die for this value.
Absolutely.
And what he put forward is this, though. He wants to get it to a point. He wants to buy developers. He wants to fund developers. He's like, listen, it is my duty. And he said, is quote unquote, I owe it to the maximalists. I owe it to them. He said that in the interview. And I thought that was brilliant. He owes it to the maximalists. Yeah, look, we spend all our time on Twitter talking shit all day and having fun. But he's right. He's absolutely right in the fact that, not that he owes it to us, but man, the maximalists, they're the ones that have carried this torch forward. I'll leave it out there for you guys. Sorry.
Absolutely. So, Daniel, how bullish are you on Bitcoin currently? Do you believe we are in a bull run? Do you foresee a bull run? What's your take on that?
I think my smile says it all. I think I couldn't be. I mean, I think the biggest bull in this space has always been Bitcoin Tina, and I think
yes.
If I ever reach his level of bullishness, then I think I don't know. Like I just couldn't be more bullish about anything. There's just nothing else worth talking about, worth reading about, worth learning about that is going to unlock you from doing shit you hate and protecting your wealth and generations of your family. I mean, who wouldn't want to learn about that? And
can you put that note? I need you to put that quote. Hey, earmark this one. Put that quote on a fucking board, because that's the mantra over my house right now, or in the kitchen. Where else do you want to be in life? What else do you want in life?
Imagine that last time a sound money took over from another was gold before the Roman Empire. We get to experience that same historical event of a new sound money coming and taking over, Bitcoin taking over as money of the world. It's mind-blowing that in 3,000 years, we get to experience it. I mean, I feel so grateful and lucky to be alive these years.
And what's even more... Sorry, Publord. I was just going to round that out. What's even more crazy, and I think I spoke to Parker about this, that, perhaps this happens again in another 3,000 years. What we have to look back in history is pitiful to what the generations, thousands of years behind us are going to be able to. They're going to be able to look back and tune into conversations like this, read Parker's writing, read Breedlove, read Safe, all of the podcasts. Everything's getting documented in real time, and that is just that. And to be part of that, that blows my mind. To be awake to it, to see it happening, to hopefully be around long enough to watch it really start making a difference in society, I think is the grandest privilege anybody could have ever hoped for. It's
unbelievable. It's just so. But Daniel, what's your expectations for these bull run? You have a big smile. Where do you see Bitcoin topping out, and when do you even see that there will be another bear market, which we normally see when stock to flow has doubled? There's That's that FOMO peak, and then there's a bear market with a bear market capitulation and a wick down quickly, like in 10 minutes, Bitcoin loses 20%, bounces up. What do you think will happen price wise, and when?
I think I had Raoul Powell on the show very, very early, March, I think it was. He was like the 6th or 7th guest to come on, and it was a great honor to get him on and talk about Bitcoin and all macro stuff. And this is even before he was truly, I mean, look how bullish he is now. Like his development and his narrative in the last few weeks has been crazy. But so we were back in March, and I asked him right at the end of the interview, right, I'll write down my 2020 top. You tell me yours, and let's see how far apart we are. I wrote down
question.
36.
Question.
Yeah,
Before you say that, you mean 2020 halving top coming later, maybe 21 or something, or do you mean the highest price in 2020?
The year high, the 2020 year high.
All right.
So I wrote down on my pad right in front of me 36,000, and he said 37,500. So between us, he had no idea that question was coming. That was just purely on feel, and to be $1,500 apart from each other was crazy. But what Raoul said next, bear in mind,
yes, crazy.
Bear in mind, this was just before COVID. None of this craziness had happened. We both started laughing that we'd guessed very, very close together. And then Raoul said, oh, shit, that means we're both going to be very, very wrong. And at the time, Bitcoin was about $10,000. He said, it's probably going to half and then half again from now on. And then look what it went down to, 3 and change?
No, don't you dare say 3 and change. I was there for 3 and change. I wrote that motherfucker down from 17,000. That was a year ago. No, it went down to 5,000 in March. Yes.
I got lower than 5,000 in March.
4,800 maybe. It was not 3. It wasn't the 3,400. I remember those buys. Yeah. Okay. I remember those buys. Yeah.
But anyway, the fact that he said, "Oh shit, it's probably going to half from here," it did.
That's true.
And we're back now, 11 and a half, whatever we are right now, and we have until what we got. We're mid-October. We've got 2.5 months to see if either of us, and we had a deal that if it breaks, 36K, like the lowest guess between us, he'll come back on the show and we'll do another one. So that'll be good fun. That was my feel and prediction for this year. And then going into next year, sky's the limit, because I don't think people really understand and look at the Fidelity news of yesterday.
Tell us about it. I might have missed that one.
So Fidelity came out yesterday and are going to start. Well, they've written a public PDF. They're now advising their company and clients to invest 1 to 5% of their portfolio into Bitcoin. This is now on the wire, and this is good to go. And imagine the people that they're speaking with, and they have all of this. They have the case studies now. Like MicroStrategy is now a case study. You think about like Harvard, MBA business school. You like a classic MBA is like, well, should Black & Decker in the 1970s moved into power drills or vacuum cleaners, and what would you have done? And write a 40-page essay about it. All that bullshit. In 10, 20 years, we're going to be studying MicroStrategy going 425 million balls deep into Bitcoin. Should they or shouldn't they? And it's going to be the shortest slide presentation ever, because it's going to be, that was obvious.
Well, I will say this about MicroStrategy, and here's the difference between you have, Jack putting in 50 million. That dude went 85% in. You want to talk about balls deep? That guy went all in. So 50 million was that maybe 1% of their holdings or half of a percent? Yeah, Michael Saylor is secured in Bitcoin lore for what he has done, because not only did he go in two things here. One, how quickly he could grasp the concept. I know he went to MIT. He went to MIT and he picked it up so fast. But you know what he turned it into? Is he is a new thought leader. He is a new thought leader about the value of Bitcoin and what it means. Because I love, because we have, and listen, man, I love all these guys, man. You get, from toThe Meister, you go down the rabbit hole. Robert Breedlove. These guys are thought leaders. This guy started at the pandemic beginning and is now a thought leader. And I don't know if you heard what he talked about. There's one interview he did about gold. I never thought about, because he's on an interview like, well, what about gold? Gold that's a pretty good one. He goes, okay, over the last 100 years, where do you store your gold? Do you store it in Tokyo until they lose the war? Do you store it in Paris until they lose the war? Do you store it in Berlin until they lose the war? Even do you store it in New York until 1933? I mean, he had thought to the point of, where do you store this? Because he saw the writing on the wall of, where do I store this value? And he's absolutely right. Like, yeah, gold is, I guess it's good, but not compared to Bitcoin. He gets it. He
called it 1,000 times better than gold, didn't he? And
yeah, but not to interrupt you, but I'm saying, what other person in the Bitcoin space has ever thought of this before?
No. And this is what makes me so bullish of class of 2020, because people like Michael can come in as class of 2020 and educate himself to the point of maximalist, OG, orator of the space in 8 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy.
And that's why I don't mind, like on Twitter, I like to listen, man, I'll pump him up on Twitter because then he had the balls to go all in. So I love to do any kind of meme with him involved there, because I believe his views are fantastic. He understands it. He gets the nuance. I think Dave Portnoy will come back. Dave Portnoy will be good to the space. I know I joke. Oh, there we go,
guys.
There we go, baby.
It's 5 p.m. somewhere, and I'm gonna try and find out where it is. So let's not forget, this is a toxic happy hour. So cheers, guys.
Cheers, baby.
Cheers. So back to Prime, and back to Michael, and back to 2020 coming in, and having worked in financial markets for years. When prices move, and you think about liquidity in Bitcoin. How much liquidity is there on the sell side? But that's going to disappear very, very quickly if we get. And if I use Michael Saylor as an example, if he had FOMO'd in, that would have made. If he had competition on the buy side, he wouldn't have sat there for 3 days in his boxer shorts watching every 3-second trade, right? There's no way. So the next,
how brilliant is that?
The next 4 or 5 CEOs come into the space. When we see Q3 earnings reports start hitting the wire, and 2 or 3 companies, there's a sentence buried deep somewhere in their filing that says we are considering alternative investments. And every analyst on the street and every other, this is game theory on fire, right? If you've got 2 or 3 companies that are releasing that, and you look at their cash balance, you're like, holy shit. They are, and it was Michael Saylor again on Peter McCormack saying, if you do 1%, like Jack, he didn't have to telegraph that, but probably could have got away with keeping that secret. How many other companies are doing that? How many private companies are doing that? All of a sudden, as soon as one of these guys just FOMOs in, if Apple FOMO in because they're like, screw this, we've got to build a moat. They have this traditional thinking. Let's build a moat in Bitcoin. Be my guest, guys. Just watch what happens if you go in and try and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin in an afternoon.
Oh yeah. So Great point. Let me add, because I've been thinking about Apple as well, because I think they're known to be the company with most cash on their balance sheet. So I just, I ran the numbers, or basically made a Google search. It was 192 billion US dollars that they have. So they have almost the market cap of Bitcoin in fiat currency. One huge ice block or ice cube just melting away at a rate of 22% this year alone. Actually, more than 22%, because it's 22% of the whole, which is printed this year, which means an expansion of what, 30% or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have a question then, because listen, you guys are smarter on Bitcoin than I am, and have all the great guests in the space. No, but here's my question: is how I love the fact that he had a team. They were buying, I think, 0.19 Bitcoin every 3 seconds. Mm-hmm. How do these mega corporations? How do they literally buy this up without affecting the price? I'm curious about this. What are your ideas about how they buy it going forward with keeping the price suppressed?
I think Daniel has the best answer to this, so that's why we're going to save him for the last. First, I'll take my pick at that. So first off, he explained how he was buying it incognito from many different sources, in a way where the whole focus was to stay under the radar, so nobody knew that there was one buyer.
Hang on, I gotta make a quick buy real quick. For my new friend, for my new friend.
So he was keeping that incognito, and you can do that short term without influencing price. He proved, right? But long term, that supply has been taken off the market, so it will influence price medium to long term. But let's take it to our expert in forex trading, Daniel Prince.
Yeah. The way he did it was, I mean, no one can do it again like that. No one's going to have. Right. No one's going to have the patience, and no one's going to have the. He even talks about how uncomfortable it was sitting there watching every trade, sweating beads, thinking, what if someone else comes in? What if someone else figures this out? And he had the comfort of being first. He was the only guy in the market. He didn't know it at that point. He was the only guy in the market.
Did you hear his story? Did you hear his story about the 30 million, the 50 million he had on the side? Yeah, so he says, I was waiting the entire time, and I was waiting for a dip. If it went down 1% to 2%, I've got 30 to 50 million on the sideline.
Yes.
Yeah. But in case he got that on the sideline, then he's going to go all in.
Right. Talk about dry powder. But you know what? I think Michael Saylor, he heard that dollar cost averaging is a good idea, so he decided to dollar cost average every 3 seconds. Let me split my $425 million into purchases every 3 seconds. That's dollar cost averaging.
Right. No board can ever do that again. No one can replicate this. No, but as much as they try.
Yeah, it wasn't 425 though. That's the total. He had the first run in at 250.
250.
Yeah, 250. But I mean, still a fucking Chad. To me, the 85% of your entire reserve that you put in, done.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. When Bitcoin hits 100,000, I'll kiss him right on the lips. I don't care.
I think that is such a great point about you kissing on the lips. No, I mean the previous
at 100,000.
The previous one. Of course, I was just joking. But the fact that he's good stuff. The fact that he did the research and decided to allocate 100%, because once you find out, look, this is a better store value, so I can't have fiat currency anymore. I need to be 100% in Bitcoin, and that's why I think it is naive to think that companies will start allocating 1 to 5%. I mean, once the board sits down, run the numbers, and realize what a superior store value it is, that MicroStrategy will not be the only company allocating 100%. Why hold fiat currency? Daniel?
And again, it comes back to this Fidelity report that was released the other day, and they were saying in a paragraph, we recommend up to 5% holding. And if that 5% over time, which we know probably a short amount of time, if it comes near 10% or 12%, then you'll have a balance. I'm like, what board in their right mind would look to rebalance if they put 5% into something and all of a sudden that became 10% of their balance sheet without doing a thing in a matter of months? You're not going to rebalance.
Yes.
You go again.
No.
You're going to get like,
yeah.
If you've already taken that leap of faith, and we know how Bitcoin affects people, but if you've taken the leap of faith, okay, let's go 5% out of our fiat, who, by the way, most boardrooms probably don't even know it's called fiat. We'll put it in here. And if they're getting advised properly, there's going to be some good advisory services, I think, born in the Bitcoin space, which is going to be another. Imagine maximalists creating consultant companies that are advising public and private companies to go anywhere between 1 to 10% of their holdings into Bitcoin. This is going to happen over the next 1 or 2 years. And you know what that's going to do to the price floor. So back to your original question, ToThe, is there going to be a bull run? Yes. Is there going to be a crash? Inevitably. But how big is the crash going to be percentage-wise to the ones we've seen in the past? Because where's the price floor going to be? We didn't have DCA before. DCA is a price floor mechanism. If you've got minnows buying in the market every single day, and that is just getting a crowded space, more and more people in. I've used the analogy before. We're going to have the minnows are going to lift the whales out of the ocean. And then, it's...
I like that.
It's... Sure. The price floor is going to be moving up the whole time. Yes, we're going to have a bigger run up. We know this. It's kind of built into the code. Yes, we're going to have a crash. But where is that price floor? That's the real question.
So I have a very unpopular opinion in the Bitcoin space, I think. I like things that are in tens. The $1 Bitcoin, $10 Bitcoin, $100 Bitcoin. We just came out of the $10,000 Bitcoin, notwithstanding what I would call the run up to 20. That was just a blow off top. The average out was, I think, about 10,000. So the next one is going to be 100,000 because it's a mathematical equation. So the next halving, it pumps up to 280, 250, and then it crashes down to 100. That's all. And then you jump up after that over 1 million because everyone realizes that you can't print any more money. So my point is this. I'm taking the low end here. The low end is 10,000 is the low end. If you're getting here at 10,000, you're doing all right.
I'll take the 280. I'll take it.
Take it. Take your profit. I get it. That's fine. Don't worry. It's going to crash down to 100. And that's what most people that have started here at 10,000, 15, 17, well, 17,628, but I'm not counting, where you started. Where you start? Hey, I've got a few green tops I want to clear off. There are a few red tops. No, my point is this. I think, people are going to be so surprised because after 20,000, there's nothing to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
It goes. Yeah. It will just go because guess what? Everything has been. I mean, there is nothing left to sell.
No, and I just want to answer a question in the chat. John M says, "Where can we DCA in Europe?" It's a very, very good question. If you want to DCA if you want to DCA in the UK, that's CoinFloor, coinfloor.uk /bitten. I don't know if you're in the UK, John. Very British name. If you're in Europe, there's Relay, RELAI in Switzerland. They're a very good service. I have an interview with Julian Liniger coming out very soon. He's the founder. In France, you can also do it with Stacking Sat. You're in Ireland. Yeah. Okay. Ireland. So yeah, you could probably use Stacking Sat because they're in Euro, or Relay because they're in Euro. Yeah. Amber, keep a close eye on Amber. Go follow Alex Svetsky, SVETSKI, because Amber are looking to launch in Europe very, very soon.
In Australia, Bitterroot is good in Australia.
Yeah. And John, if you're listening, go listen to my episode with Friar Hass. That's at FRIAR HASS. Friar Hass is the DCA king, and he's the first person I've ever heard talk about DCA selling, and that spun me out a little bit. So to come back to Publord, and
explain that.
So yeah, DCA selling is the exact reverse of DCA buying. You know, when you feel, if you feel this is getting toppy, and you know, so Friar, the way Friar explained it was he's been in a world of pain since he's been down most days, then he's been up, right? If you get in at the wrong time, you get a lot of red. Unfortunate, especially if you see the force of good for society and civilization that Bitcoin is, you see its inevitability. To spend that long in the red is pretty dark. And Friar did a great job of explaining that and sharing a personal story. And he wants to leave one day his fiat job. He wants to leave his fiat job in the next 5 or 10 years. And the only way he can do that is by, at some stage, we're going to be in a fiat-backed world for the next 1 or 2 decades. It's not going to get the dollar and the pound and the euro. They don't go away tomorrow. They go away, but not tomorrow. So
2026, 2027.
So he was talking about bold call. He was talking about DCA selling, and when you get to that point where a small sale is going to start making a real dent to your everyday life and to your happiness, and can buy you that house, or it can move you to that country, or it can get you away from that fiat job to work on projects that you truly love within Bitcoin, then DCA sell out. Don't just, sell a coin. Sell 1/10 of a coin and have that set up for a year, because we don't know where this is going to go. And that was a very, very interesting theory of his, and something I'd never heard anyone talk about before. And it's something that could truly release people from their day-to-day, you know, because if you hang on to it and we go into another 3-year death spiral, oh man, you know, it takes strong hands. We know that. It takes strong hands.
Daniel, I want to say something, because if we look at the history of how the price reacts in the halving cycle, which is something that I'm extremely focused on, then the anticipation of the halving effect means the point at which the price leaves the bear market bottom behind and starts trending up is happening earlier and earlier. The last 2 times. So after the 2013 bull run and it came down to the bottom, then the price started trending up 12 months before the 2016 halving. But for the 2020 halving, the price started trending up 16 months before. At the same time, we see that bull run takes longer time. So the way I look at it is that that gap of a bear market is going to get shorter and shorter. So the last bear market was exactly 1 year, from mid-December 17 to mid-December 18, where the bottom was. Then in January 19, it started moving up. I think that negative action in the price basically will be shorter, and because the bull run likely will take longer time. And there's a good explanation to that, I believe, and that is that stock to flow is accelerating slower than it did in the beginning. In the first epoch, stock to flow went from 0 to 8, which essentially is infinity when you go from 0 to 8. And then in the second epoch, stock to flow went from 8 to 24, which is a factor of 3. In the third epoch, the one leading up to the 2020 halving, stock to flow went up with a factor 2.33. And the bull runs have been slower in this period. So I think that, it's obvious that the lower the inflation rate is, and let me explain stock to flow if there's anyone who don't know it, although I think everyone in the chat do, then stock to flow is the amount of circulation you have compared to 1 year's supply. So basically, how many years will it take for the current supply being mined to match the circulation? I think that's the explanation, the logical explanation why the bull runs take longer time. It's also the explanation for the price not to be pumped as high. It's going up a little bit slower than it did in the beginning. I mean, it's still going up a lot and fast. And if we look at the 2017 price action, where the top was at 20,000 and the stock to flow model indicated a bit more than 6,000 as the stock to flow model price. So that was actually 3 times above. Interestingly, it was the same factor 3 that stock to flow went up previous to that halving. And now stock to flow having gone up with a factor of 2.33. And the model price suggesting Bitcoin to be around 104,000, I believe, after 365 days or 400 days of the 2020 halving. So if the overshoot is by the same factor, although I'm not completely sure that's going to be the case, but if we're using it as an indication, that still puts us at a price target for this bull run of basically the model price of 104, 106 multiplied by 233. So we're looking at around $250,000 per Bitcoin, and because the bull runs are a bit longer and slower, it will take more than 1.5 years than it did last time. 2013 took 1 year, then it took 1.5 years. I think Q1 2022 we're talking probabilities. We can't say this is going to happen. I'm not stating that, but I think it's not unlikely that there will be a bull run top of 250,000 ballpark in Q1 2022.
I can't disagree. I just can't disagree, because you're looking at mathematical equations. I'm looking at game theory and just my experience in markets and FOMO. And when we've got these big players coming in, big players, they do stupid shit. And like I said before, they're not going to have the comfort that Michael Saylor had there to sit there for 3 days and slowly buy as much as he wanted without anybody knowing. That is a one and done.
Yeah.
Finished.
Love it. Yeah.
Anybody else wants to come in now in size? We will see a price move of more than $10,000 in a day to the upside, I think.
Oh yeah.
Next year.
I think there's going to be a day we go to bed at 10,000, 20,000. You wake up at 100. It will literally be within 12 hours.
You mean a $10,000 move, right? You're not talking about from the current price to 100,000 in 24 hours. You mean a $10,000 candle?
No, I'm talking about a full after 15, 20,000, it goes to 100,000 overnight.
Okay,
right. Oh, wow.
I believe it. No, I believe it. Everyone laughed earlier. Oh, what do you mean? 90 cents to 100 cents, $100 to $10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, everyone laughed then. Listen, people do not understand the power. They don't understand the power of Bitcoin. They do not get it.
Mm-hmm.
They do not understand it. So we are so stuck in the fiat world. You're stuck there. You're stuck there. I'm stuck there. I'm trying to get out of the fiat world. I'm telling you, there's going to be a jump, and it's going to go from 10,000 to 100,000 overnight.
Okay.
And people,
I guess this is truly the toxic happy hour. This is the happy hour, and
you're not toxic enough for me, my friend.
No, I think a 900% move in 24 hours is quite bullish. Probably more bullish than me. Probably more bullish than me. I'm sure we'll see $10,000 candles. I'm not sure we'll see $900,000 candles, $90,000 candles in this epoch. But let's see what happens.
Timestamp it.
All I want to say is that it just turned 5 p.m. in St. John's about 25 minutes ago. So St. John's, shout out to you. Hope you're enjoying the happy hour.
And I just want to say as well in the chat, Mervyn B just he's reacted to Guy. We got a new Giga Mega Chat bull here, so I think Guy's just overtaken Bitcoin Tina. And John and Danish HODL, if you wouldn't mind, John's asking, can you type those sites in the chat? I can't see where I do type in the chat.
Okay, so you spell it out for me.
I think the easiest.
Which one are we looking for? Because that was a lot of websites.
Just tag @FryerHaas because Fryer lists all the DCA services around the world. So if you just put his Twitter handle, go follow Fryer. And
is that correct? Can you see the chat, Daniel?
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
So Fryer Haas's Twitter tag, Twitter handle on the screen. A big shout out to that guy. I have met very few people with a bigger integrity than Fryer Haas. At least that's my impression from just a little bit of interaction with the guy. That is solid integrity right there.
Fryer's a great dude. He's the one. Listen, man. Aside from Adam Meister, I heard a story. Fryer Haas, when he started from Australia, and I think he was going to school in England at the time. And for him when he got into Bitcoin and what it took for him to get in there and tell his family, he's gone through some shit, man. That guy he's earned his stripes for sure.
Yeah, I
love him.
I respect any guy buying or girl buying near the end of a bull run and then watching their investment being down for 12 months or 18 months. Respect to you, Publord, for that discipline and for educating yourself and understanding that it's only when you don't understand what Bitcoin is that you sell because the price goes down. If you know what Bitcoin is and the potential it holds, $20,000 is cheap Bitcoin. That is cheap Bitcoin. That's Bitcoin on a fire sale.
That's the hard part of it all to explain to friends. When you get it, you get it. When you don't, you don't. And I'm at a point where Satoshi Nakamoto put at the end, I don't have time to explain to you. If you see it, you see it. I love that part about it. It is true. When you see it, you get it. That's all.
Am I the only one who find parents and siblings to be the most difficult people to explain Bitcoin to? Not explain, but like get through.
No, it's tough, man. It's because I don't know, those nearest and dearest to you that you want to help the most give you the least respect, and I don't know why. I think that's just inbuilt to our human psyche. But you don't want to take advice from. Well, you get to a certain point where you don't want to take advice from your parents anymore, and you get to a certain point where you don't want to take advice from your younger brother or older brother, regardless of what they've done, or sister, and you'll never take advice from old Uncle Jeff. It's like it's this weird thing. But some random dudes might be watching the three of us cracking on about Bitcoin right now. Yeah, and they're going to take advice and they're going to go out and buy the first Bitcoin. Like, explain that.
So,
Yeah.
hey, I'll explain it real quick. And I think you'd like this analogy I sent earlier when we were talking. Remember I was saying it's like a big filter of iron ore in the ground and all the shit that goes through. But what you catch at the end, there are people that you just understand it. You get it. There are people that were prepared for it from the beginning. It could be from their education, from just their nature in general. They find the best people find the way to Bitcoin to me. That's all. And when I find them, I love them.
Yeah.
That's it.
Can I just take the opportunity to mention that if you're watching this on YouTube, then in the show notes below, you will find Daniel's podcast, Once Bitten, the link to that. You'll also find the Forbes article where Daniel is featured. You'll find the Twitter handles, Publord and Daniel. You will also find a link to a free copy of Inventing Bitcoin, which is a book that is selling for $8.95 on Amazon with a rating of 4.9 out of 5. So that book is free in the link below. Just a few gifts. It's happy hour, right?
Absolutely.
It's always happy hour, man.
I can send you a PDF to my book as well if you want, and people can read that. It has very little to do with Bitcoin, but it has a lot to do with set, freeing you from the rat race, digital nomadry, world schooling, and it's a personal journey, and a lot of people have found some good value from it. So I happily share that with you, and you can put that out as well. And one thing I also wanted to say, and I just saw John put in the chat there, is like the amount of people watching brain-numbing TV right now, and he's hanging out on YouTube and learning shit from us three banging on and having some beers together. That when somebody, this is the whole lucky thing, right? When Bitcoin crosses $20, $30, $40, $50,000, and someone turns around to you and says, "Oh, well, it's all right for you. You're so lucky. You know, you bought Bitcoin." You're like, well, yeah. Whilst you were watching every season of Game of Thrones, and by the way, you probably can't name more than 3 characters, I was deep in podcasts. I was deep in books, articles, memes, interacting with strangers over the internet to educate myself about something. There's no luck involved in that. So anyone here that's watching, you're early. You have no idea how early you are, and this is, let's go.
Absolutely. What I will say is that once we hit 50,000, I may buy a cheap car somewhere, a hodlmobile. I just really don't want to depart with my set. So I mean, I need transport now, but buying a car is just, even though I need it in Los Angeles, where you pretty much need a car, I'd rather not spend my money and Mervyn B raises an extremely important point here. Let's get at least 6 likes on the show. Thank you, Mervyn.
Number go up.
Number go up. Let's get at least 6 likes and pound that like button.
Oh, that's Adam Meister right there.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned that about the car. My car blew up last week. My 23-year-old beloved Land Cruiser gave up the ghost at 225,000 miles, and that was our family car. I've got 4 kids, right? So, God damn it, this kills me that I got to go and buy a new car. And
listen, Daniel,
that's a lot of sats.
I know a new car absolutely makes no sense to a Bitcoiner, but I know that
used
Tesla...
car, excuse me, a new used car, new to me. There's no way in the world.
A new used car is a waste of money. But I just want to say that once Bitcoin is at 20 million and 0.1 Bitcoin is financial independence, Tesla is coming out with a car with $1 million mile battery. So that's about 1.7 million kilometers. You're in Europe, the metric system, baby.
Yeah. A real Bitcoiner will walk. A real Bitcoiner will never take a car like that.
I walk a lot. I walk a lot. I really got.
I don't listen. I don't have to walk when I have my little apartment there, my condo on the beach. I'm good. I walk out to the beach. I do my run on the beach.
So before I was walking to work, it was half an hour each way. It was great. It was a nice walk, good exercise. Now I'm working from home, so my use of a car or my need is quite limited. I mean, yes, I could absolutely use a car, but I could use my sats more.
Mm-hmm. So here's a question I want to throw out to you guys.
Yeah,
I'm looking for this. This is the citadel thing. I think a country will become a citadel, and it will be a country that is zero tax, like truly zero tax, no property tax, inheritance tax, income tax, sales tax, zero tax, mountains, beach.
Yeah.
Okay, so Monaco has the mountains, Dubai has the beaches. Monaco also has the beaches. Sorry, I cut you off. Please continue.
I was going to say, where are we looking? Like, what's the?
I was going to say, Portugal apparently is looking pretty good for people. Portugal's looking really nice.
How about Malta as well? I heard
I've been to Malta.
Adam Back and Blockstream is in Malta, which apparently is quite Bitcoin friendly. John M, we got 6 likes. Thanks for letting us know. Awesome. Thank you, guys. We're glad you like the show. So,
Publord, I know you do a great deal of traveling all over the world. Is there a place, or I mean, we could talk about flag theory. The idea of having second passports and 1 or 2 houses in different places of the world, or having access like a whole Bitcoin home exchange. I think a Bitcoin home exchange would be incredible. I've used Love Home Swap extensively, and this is how my family and I traveled around the world for 2.5 years, just leveraging the circular economy. And this is exactly what Bitcoin is. So imagine a platform you log on and every Bitcoiner has listed their homes. Like, you can either come stay here with your family, or we'll be happy to swap houses with you. And you can just be mobile, on the move.
Oh, it's absolutely a thing. I wish my wife and daughter got this thing that I have, but they don't.
Right.
This is, Bitcoin is for me right now. I'm the crazy one in the family.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to pick up a girl, Anna Karenina, she's pretty nice. She sounds like a Russian novel. No, my joke is this. Yeah, no, she's funny. We're friends online. I joke about this. But you know what? There's something. You want to talk about a place that no one talks about much is the people that have Bitcoin, love Bitcoin, but their spouse doesn't, and no one talks about that enough. Everyone assumes that they're all in the same place. So that'd be an interesting conversation. Look, I love HodL, and his wife's obviously all in with him. But that's an interesting one, isn't it? Like, who?
It's more difficult than parents and siblings.
Yeah, but no one talks about that. So that's a good one for you guys to think about. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it is.
That's one of the reasons you should dollar cost average, because no one will look at their bank account and see everything disappearing at once. Better to slowly drain the account for Bitcoin.
Hey, I was gonna say I'm dollar cost averaging into. I'm sorry, I called you an asshole. That's my dollar cost averaging.
I didn't get that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I called you an asshole as you dollar cost averaged me into $1 million Bitcoin. Sorry, I called you an asshole.
What? One day, this is the wife saying, or
yes, the wife will say, the women will say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. What's how much? $1 million? Oh, okay.
Yes.
They'll get it then.
Exactly. It's like, it's like, where the hell? Where's all this money going? Have you been having an affair or something? Yes, I have. Who with? Bitcoin. Well, what's
but
that?
it's not just an affair. I'm in
2.5
love.
mil. Like,
There's a great joke about a guy that he went with his buddies. He goes out with the base and playing pool, but he takes all the chalk and throws it all over his hands. And then he goes home, and the wife says, "What have you done?" He goes, "Well, I went out and made love to my girlfriend." And she sees the chalk on the hand. She goes, "No, fuck you. You've been playing pool again, haven't you, you bastard?"
A great cover up, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Listen, man. Fuck. You know what? Yeah, there's got to be a Bitcoin book. You know what? They've already done a Bitcoin book for the kids.
Yeah,
they got to have one for the wives that don't know. Interesting.
Yeah.
for sure. And I see John
Honestly,
M in the chat has said, "Man, I'd have to pay 30% capital gains tax where I'm based. Don't sell. Just don't sell. Then you won't pay the capital gains tax. And then move somewhere. Like listen to my episode with Mikkel Thorup, and he will sort you out. He will get you shacked up somewhere and legally not paying tax, because flag theory is a thing. Don't do that, man. Like, you know, they don't deserve that."
Also, I want to add to that as I believe Bitcoin will become the global money standard of the world, fiat currency will go away because nobody want to hold that. I mean, Gresham stated that centuries ago with Gresham's law, explaining how weak money will disappear because people don't want to hold it. And when that happens and you end up having only Bitcoin, how are you gonna even put a number on the gain you had? Because Bitcoin is the only money that is around. Do you see what I mean? So if Bitcoin is the only money around, and let's say you have one Bitcoin, how can you say how much it went up? Because you're not measuring it in dirty fiat anymore.
Mm-hmm. Look, why are we even fucking around here, man? Go back online. Let's go. I got to hit the pisser, but this is the conversation that people want to hear. Honestly, this is good stuff. Why are we fucking around here?
Oh, we're still alive, man.
Oh, are we? Oh, good. Even better.
Yeah, no, but that's the beauty of
we got two viewers left. Okay, good.
No, we got 7, man. We got 7 beautiful people, smart people.
Okay, so what do you? Okay, what are you asking again? Let me go first, because then I can go to the pisser. Go ahead. What do you want?
Yeah. No, it's very easy. You know, we can always. This is the beautiful of using this restream. We can always, take one person out of the audio, and then on turns,
that's usually me, of course.
Two people. Well, I've already been gone. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we, on turns, we can go to the fridge, to the bathroom, whatever. We good. We're set up for 10 hours here.
Let's go, man. So what was the question again? Let's go back to the beginning.
Daniel, I mean, you seem to be, I guess this is because you're British, because you can hold it like no one else. I remember I was working in Yahoo, and then a couple of us colleagues, we went to this Indian restaurant sometimes after work. And here we go. Publord is gone. So we were all sitting down having beautiful curry, spicy curry, nice ice cold pints, and one of our colleagues, the CFO, was British. And even though we as Danes think that we can drink beer because that's our main liquor or alcohol basically in Denmark, when we were halfway down the first one, he had finished 2, unaffected. So I think you might carry that gene.
It's the binge drinking of the UK, and I can link this to Bitcoin. I can link it to fiat, because you get to Thursday or Friday, Saturday night in the UK, and you're so done with running that hamster wheel for the past 3-4 days, whatever it is. Many people are working 2 jobs. Many people are working nights. it's tough, and this is fiat monetary policy that is killing people's lives. And so when you get the chance, you just want to hit that escape valve. And that escape valve is go out and get hammered in as quick a time as possible and drink as much beer as you can. Publord's like, what the fuck did I miss? But
thank you, man.
But it's this dreadful, and it's not good. It's not good for society. It really isn't. Like the club scene and the pub scene in the UK is pretty
hardcore.
bad. It's hardcore, and it's hardcore because of fiat money, because people can't get ahead. So they go out to drink and party hard, and then they get into fights because someone's infringing on their civil liberties and they think it's the guy in the bar, whereas really it's the overreaching arm of control that is puppeteering them. And it's a real problem. And you see the same, like the drinking culture, you see the same in Australia and you see the same in America. Now, I live here in France at the moment, and sure, this might happen in the big cities, but generally the culture here is you're going to have 2 or 3 glasses of wine with your dinner every night, and you'll probably leave half of the last glass. I see workmen, I see highway workmen walk into a restaurant at lunchtime in their bright orange, all sit down.
What are they having, Daniel? They have a 3-something. We just lost you there a little bit. I think that Bitcoin blockchain is still working on your computer there. And I just want to thank you for choosing to update it while we're streaming. I think that was incredibly smart.
They'll sit down and have a 3-course meal with a bottle of wine between them before they go back out and start repairing the roads. And like, this is a neighboring country to the UK. And these guys, they don't go out and get hammered in a bar and end up in fights. And like, you know, it's just this weird cultural.
Well, they're
thing.
French. They'll never fight. Let's be honest. Oh, am I live? Am I live here?
Listen, I mean, I hope one day we'll have listeners all across the world. So we're going to be
earmark this
nice
one. Sorry,
everyone. And it's okay. We can joke. You know, you joke more with the people that you love. You know, when you really have that good relationship, when you really have that good relationship, that's when you start taking punches at the people you love, and they know you love you. So. I mean, obviously, you do love the French people a lot, Publord. I want to thank you for that, sending that universal love, and talking about. Yeah. All right.
No, please.
No.
No, I didn't have much to add. I don't know what you want me to add to that, but let's go back in history. Hey, in American history, thank God for the French. They finally made it over when they needed to. You know, King George III, that was just tyrannical, apparently, as I was brought up to understand.
Exactly, as you.
But thank God the French were here to help us. Okay.
Yeah, that's.
Sorry.
We're getting back to the formation of America right now, and
Let's get back to that. So no taxation without representation, right? So I saw a tweet yesterday where a guy said, so when 16 years old have to pay tax and they still can't vote, is that taxation without representation? That's an interesting point.
Mm-hmm. So what 16-year-old is paying taxes again?
I don't know. What's the minimum tax bracket in US, Publord? I live on the moon, so you tell me.
So listen, man, I got unpopular opinions here. Look, I talk about federal income taxes. I'm not talking about everyone pays state income taxes. I get it, but I'm talking about the ones that get to vote in the federal election. So I'm always interested when someone says, "Oh my God, what's going on here? Why do I have to to pay this. No, half the people don't even pay. No one realizes how little people pay in federal income taxes. No one realizes this. So to me, it's always interesting when people want, like, I want to vote for this, for that. They don't get the fact that at the end of the day, you should be able to have a special value for your vote. Your vote should be correlated directly to how much you pay in income taxes. So, for example, if you pay $30,000 a year in income taxes, I'm just guessing maybe you should have a little bit more of a vote than someone that pays nothing.
More vote, more say on what the money is being spent on.
Yeah.
That sounds fair. What do you say, Daniel?
Never heard of that concept before.
Me neither.
I bring something new to the table every time.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Publord brings it. He's read a lot of books. You got to respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
I was on a debate earlier today where Seyfried was debating Alex Gladstein and Stefan Livera was moderating, and they were talking about democracies against monarchies, and is Bitcoin even a democracy, and is democracy good? And it spun my head out, and it was just completely eye-opening to think about, these deeper topics, and to watch these guys. And Saif will release it on his podcast. If you're not listening to his podcast, you should be, because this discussion will go live probably tomorrow or the day after. So I won't give too many spoilers, but like to hear, the chief strategist officer, Alex Gladstein, defending democracy, and Saif tearing it down, was and in a grown-up manner. Like there wasn't shouting and screaming at each other. These were balanced arguments and points. It's another part of this Bitcoin space that just makes you realize how little we've ever known in the past. And for public, something like, shouldn't the amount that you pay in federal income tax tally with the percentage sway of your vote, sort of thing? That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
And that would align incentives, right? That would align incentives, because right now we have huge conglomerates, and we all know this. People are dodging tax wherever they can. Like the richer you are, the better lawyer you can employ to find that loophole. By the way, who writes these loopholes to avoid tax? That's not the problem. It's not the people that are avoiding the taxes. We see in the mainstream media, Apple, Facebook, Google, whoever, they owe X amount in, and Amazon own X amount in income tax or federal state tax or whatever you want to call it, tax. It's like, no, they don't. No, they don't. They're just playing the system that you fuckers wrote in for your own benefit. And they've found your loophole and they're playing that. But you're going to put the narrative on them, so the plebs, us serfs in the field, that are just being force-fed all of this bullshit, to hate the conglomerates that are providing us with the products and services that we love and we need, instead of questioning the government, instead of questioning the people that wrote these laws into place in the first place. So if Publord, if there was a system like your place, then you would be incentivized to pay your tax, because therefore then you knew that you'd have a greater sway. Your vote would, and it would stop this lifestyle choice of welfare.
It's an interesting conversation. Like, the first thing you think about is back in Greece, and the invention of citizens, and each man having a vote. I'm pretty sure it was only man back then. I think women only got
let
voting
me
rights in
jump.
the last century.
No, no, no,
By
no.
the way,
Let me. I got to jump in here. I got to jump in because to fully understand the Greece, you must understand this. Out of the entire country, every citizen had the right to vote. So here's the problem. I wouldn't say a problem. Here's the way it was translated over. The ones that are a citizen are the ones that pay taxes at the time. So, for example, when it came to Greece, the ones that own property could vote. They call that a democracy. It was a democracy because the ones that own property could vote. No one knows that here right now. They thought it was a 1-to-1 vote. It was never like that.
right.
And that's the interesting part, is we are here today. We understand. Oh, well, I don't know what you do in life. I don't know what you contribute to society, but you get a right to vote, and that was never the intent of it.
Right. Now, were you guys aware? I was only brought up to speed on this when I interviewed Richard James, who made the film Hard Money. That blew my mind. And I brought that up with Stefan Livera today. And he said, "Oh, I think for this election, I might not vote, and I'll just take the fine." I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" You get fined. In Australia, it's mandatory voting, compulsory voting. So if you do not vote, you get fined for voting. So how can that therefore be a democracy in the first place? It's a shambles of the whole concept.
What if you want to vote Bitcoin and send a signal that you don't support the corruption going on?
You know what you do? You buy Bitcoin and don't give a shit. You just buy Bitcoin. That's why I love it. That's why I hope everyone else loves it. I buy Bitcoin because guess what? They can be angry at me, but guess what? When I pull it off the exchange, I get it in my hardware wallet. They got nothing, baby. They got nothing.
If they print it, we'll stack it.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you guys think about the 3D? Because within the community, man, there's some 3D printing going on here. What do you think about that?
I think it's decentralization on crack. I think it's absolutely brilliant. We can now truly decentralize material objects. You'll never need forget it, right? It's not going to be far off before we're printing our own phones to order. And I want this part, I want this part, and I want this part. And brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it's good. If Bitcoin is disrupting money, 3D printing is disrupting the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah,
it's another way to take power back to the people. Because if you figure out, well, hang on a minute, I'm going to make this product to order to thousands of people around the world, and if I can make this product, then I can make this product. And you just reiterate and reiterate and reiterate. I know at the moment it's all about guns and whatever, but that's just one aspect, and that's obviously clickbait. But with Crypto Cloaks, the guys over there, no, it wasn't a different guy. He heard Lauren talking about she wanted to make a frisbee on her 3D modeling club, which she does online on her on Galileo. And he just sent me the thing. He's like, printed this out for Lauren. What do you think? And there it is, a beautiful Bitcoin frisbee. Like, it was that simple.
Wow.
And that's just a very basic example, but decentralize all the things, and 3D modeling is mega.
Absolutely. Also, I just want to say that for the kids out there watching, we've put apple juice in this. It's been just another scam. We're just having apple juice and pretending we're having fun.
King, what's the name of this beer? ETH.
Yeah.
It's not real beer.
No, it's not. It tends to be a beer, but it's actually an apple juice, so it's called S.
Yeah.
With a little tiny M in front, right?
Yeah.
So that's hey man, that's a good segue. I'll go in there. So what do you guys think? Because you know what's been fascinating to me, there have been some big buys. I mean, we're talking about some money coming in between MicroStrategy, between Square. But what I tell all my friends, or lack of friends, I should say, on Twitter is, or guess what happened?
I'm offended.
No. I'm talking about the ones that say this.
Yeah.
Goddamn. Guess what they're not buying? They're not buying Ethereum. They're not buying Bitcoin Cat. They don't buy, you know what they all buy? Bitcoin. That's it.
Oh.
So what do you guys, what do you think about that?
So this morning, when the first thing I did before I was really awake, before I had my coffee, I was on Bitcoin Twitter, of course, and I saw this desperate meth boy writing that so in a couple of years you'll see how many companies hold Ethereum on their balance sheet, and I was writing, so is that happening because they have unlimited supply, or no companies are buying Ethereum now. They know that meth is a bad thing. You should stay away from drugs. You want sound money with a 100% cap. That's the only way you can store value.
Did you see Barry Silbert's tweet?
Oh wait, remind me of this one. I think I did. Which one? Yeah. Which one was?
Let me just bring you up to speed, Publord. That was he sent out a tweet saying that Grayscale now holds, I think it was, 5% of Ethereum circulation, and somebody retweeted and asked him, how do you calculate that?
Love it. It's such shit, man. I can't believe the people that are still there. I don't get it. I do not get it. Fuck, I'll bring him out from the wilderness into the greatness of Bitcoin. But yeah, he's lost his mind. They all have.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like the other casinos out there, you make a lot of money when you're selling random tokens. People trading back and forth.
Talking of which, Kraken sent out an email today updating the other 3 shitcoins that they've, and I'm not sure how they're getting away with not being a shitcoin casino and getting dragged through the mud like Coinbase, because sure, the CEO is not as outspoken as Coinbase's CEO, but I mean, I don't know, I don't get it. Like, one of the coins was like
Wi-Fi,
Yearn-Fi or something. It was like Yearn
Wi-Fi. I heard.
Why? How? Who is that getting past? Because there's a lot of true maxis. There's some real Bitcoiners at Kraken. I'm not going to call them out.
Nope. So we've been told. I think Pierre Richard is one, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
so I don't know
what I will say, because I was working full time at a company. Let's call it a cryptocurrency company that were selling different types of coins. Me being a maximalist, I think we were 2 maximalists out of 25 people or something. Even though I was working at a company with these different coins, what I could experience was you do have an influence on pushing things more towards Bitcoin. I mean, it's a bit like
that sounds like some bullshit, friend. I'm sorry. Just on your chance, you can push something to listen. Either you love Bitcoin or you don't, man. I'm the dumbest asshole out here on the show. I get it.
No, you're not, because you chose to educate yourself on HODL. I mean, that puts you in the top 1% of smart people on the planet.
All right.
But okay, so let me give you another example, because continue. Please go ahead.
No, I don't want to beat you up, but what I'm saying is, look, I understood Bitcoin. I got it in my heart. When you get it in your heart, it's done. It's over. I get it.
Yeah.
And you know me forever. We've talked for a long time. I got it in my heart. So I love my fucking Bitcoin. It's always in my heart. So go ahead.
Okay, so as you know, Publord, Daniel, you probably haven't heard of this, but so I'm eToro, that I know is pretty big in Europe. I think it's been around as an exchange for a long time. I think they've been offering stock trading for decades now. So in US so far they only have cryptocurrencies, and they have this thing called Popular Investor, where you can choose to make your profile public, and then if people like your performance, they can copy you and allocate funds to you, so their money or fiat currency does what you're doing real time, which is pretty cool. And I have, through 100% focused portfolio on Bitcoin, the only thing I hold is Bitcoin, have now climbed to the second most copied Popular Investor on eToro in US. And so what I'm doing there is that when people can see that Bitcoin can outperform the dirt coin portfolios, that make people allocate money to what I am doing, which means that instead of their funds going out and buying a buffet of different things, it's going 100% to Bitcoin. And for me, it's just such a mission to prove and to really show that Bitcoin can give a better return. So, I mean, right now in this bull run that I am very, very bullish on, I'm right now 100% allocated to Bitcoin. And then, if we reach something that smells a little bit overboard, I may sell 2-3% and hope to buy it back a little bit cheaper. The point is, I'm like 97 to 100% allocated to Bitcoin until the FOMO peak that I expect in this bull run, where I will be doing exactly the same thing you mentioned, which I explained to BTC Sessions the other day, which is to dollar cost average out to take profits. So this portfolio it's a small part of the very little that I have, but it's 100% focused on this trade on the halving cycle. And I hope to dollar cost average out at twice the price that I can dollar cost average in as we get to the bottom, and thereby doubling the Bitcoin I have on eToro. That's my target. If anyone wants to see it, there's also a link for that in the show notes. Apologies for the plug, but also there's a link to $50 if you open an account there. And don't forget to stack sats and not buy dirt.
All about the sats.
Yeah. Let's just leave it there.
I'm good.
But the show's not over. I'm just talking about that conversation. That's all.
Okay. Is there anything in the chat you want to address? I see. I only see 2 boxes. I don't have the stream up.
So what I do want to address is I sent some questions your direction earlier on, and the current macroeconomic environment. How do you think, as a previous forex trader, how do you see this current macroeconomic environment influence Bitcoin?
I think the macro story is we already discussed it earlier, and it can't be swept under the rug. And when I asked Grant this question, Grant Williams on the show about his views about MicroStrategy, he kind of shrugged his shoulders and he's like, yeah, it's no big thing, like whatever. And that surprised me. That really surprised me, coming from someone like Grant. But I get it, because at the end of the day, it is just one company out of thousands. It is only $400 million when you're looking at a global market cap of trillions and trillions of market cap of whether it's stocks, bonds, global FX, gold. Bitcoin is still just this tiny, tiny drop in the ocean. But I think that's being missed by a lot of people. And another thing that's going on that very few people are talking about, or even care to understand, is the work going on the mining side of things, and what people like Steve Barber and Marty Bent are doing at their respective companies, and going into these huge players, huge energy providers, and solving their biggest problem. And their biggest problem is wasted energy. And they have a solution, and that solution can be dropped on site, wherever, within a day or two. If they sign off and say, yes, solve our problem, it's solved in 1 or 2 days. These are billion-dollar problems if you add them up all over the world. And if you have all of this gas flaring and wasted energy on oil fields and whatever else going into mining rigs, that is a net benefit. All of a sudden, these power companies, instead of that being a write-off and a real bad mark on not only on their company image, but a huge dent in their balance sheet, to a huge virtual signal and a net profit.
Yep. Let me jump. Can I jump? Let me jump in here, man.
Please.
You're fucking fantastic. You're right on. You're fucking fantastic. And I was always wondering, like, man, Marty Bent, I always loved him for what he talked about. And I think, man, how do I get involved? Like, how does he should have a goddamn company that people could invest in. I don't know what it would be, but he is spot on, man. The next generation is money that comes in from people that will see someone that comes in with an idea. How do we, I don't know, how do we come in here and just have an idea of how we mine Bitcoin?
Well, get this. Let me blow your mind. Yeah. How many years away are we? How many years away are we from oil being a byproduct of mining in the oil fields? Being a byproduct of mining Bitcoin. At what point does that switch?
Yeah.
Think like if I can drill oil out of the ground and sell it at $100 a barrel, and on the side with my waste gas mine Bitcoin, and Bitcoin moves to 100 grand, 200 grand, 300 grand, and I'm mining successfully 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coins a day, whatever. I don't know how these things work, but at what point does the income on the Bitcoin mining outshine the income? And by the way, we think prices of Bitcoin are volatile. Yeah, commodity prices are volatile as hell and manipulated by governments and geopolitical nightmares all over the place.
Yeah,
this is the kind of macro that people aren't awake to. They're really not. And just put that on a smaller scale, on your national grid, not the national grid, your local grid. And if your local grid can mine Bitcoin with the energy that is wasted, because it's all wasted, that extra doesn't go and light your light bulb. It gets wasted somehow.
What I find interesting is, and what you would call wasted, what's interesting is this. Wasted is when people realize something is happening. Most people don't even know what the hell is going on. So it's not even wasted. It's not wasted at all. They don't know what the fuck's going on in their life. They don't understand what Bitcoin means. They don't understand it.
So we have people talking about like better battery storage and stuff to store this energy.
Yeah.
You don't need that. You just mine Bitcoin with it.
Yeah.
Because that makes a huge difference to your bottom line.
Yeah.
You probably transfer more value to the future by buying Bitcoin with that excess energy than storing it in batteries.
Absolutely.
How fast was, that's the one thing I love about Michael Saylor, how quickly he came up to that conclusion. I mean, he literally, he ran into the pandemic and said, hey, where the fuck is my money going? That's what he said. And he came up with this idea. It's like, Jesus, I can transfer value into the future. $10,000, I don't want to hear. He's like, damn, I can take money now and throw it into the future. And that's a new concept for many people. Even Bitcoiners don't think about that stuff. That's why I love him, man. He's a new thinker into this space.
He's a very intelligent Bitcoiner, throwing a lot of good thoughts in the space. It's the same with it's a human right to store the value of your labor. You paid for your labor. To store that and transfer it to your future self or to your generations after you. But fiat currency is taking that right away from you because they are stealing several percent, officially only 2 to 3%, as we spoke about very early in this chat. More than that, if you look at assets, they're going up faster than that. That is being robbed from you every year. So that human right is taken away from you by the oppressive fiat currency regime.
Have you guys ever also considered the breakdown of the family? Again, Marty Bent talked about this, and I was having a conversation with a French lady here the other day that is reading a book. She told me the title of the book in French, so that it kind of went over my head pretty quickly. But basically, like, what's this been now? 3, 4, 5 decades where women have been actively pushed into the workspace.
Yes,
actively pushed. And so, when you realize, well, of course, those in power all of a sudden realize that 50% of the taxable population weren't working. Look what we have now. And we have now this my wife and I talk about this all the time because she, as soon as we started having kids, she gave up her job and that was it. You know, we were dead set on, no, you stay home with the kids. At the moment, I'm earning enough that we can, I can support the family. This is the right thing to do. Very few people think that way these days. You've got kids as young as 1 year old being brought up by nannies or in daycare from the age of 1. And
absolutely.
Disgusting.
Absolutely. And this central bank money printing is really hurting families also. I mean, I see a lot of relationships and marriages where money is one of the main reasons that there is a breakup because when money is lacking, it's a problem in a relationship. People are better off if they have funds, and that's hurting marriages. It's causing divorces, and it's all caused by central banks. Really, it's the most evil plot in the world. Really, it's central banks. And imagine that they've convinced more than 99% of the population that we're going to take 2, 3, or more % of your savings every year, but it's in your interest. It's that simple. Yeah. They convinced people that, hey, we need to do that to keep you in job. We need to stimulate and keep you in a job. And as one of the things I like to point out is that the period of the most productivity growth in the United States was from 1873 to 1892, a 20-year period where the world was unsound money, US was unsound money, gold was money. Productivity went up with almost a factor of 3 in 20 years. imagine with the speed of technological development we have now, how fast lives could be improving, how we could have time left over, manpower left over to research how we combat diseases like cancer, etc., instead of just trying to stay alive.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's.
Now, I'll jump in on some of this. When it comes to especially health, for example, my God, we look forward in life, but what we found when we look back on the ones that bore us in a way, the ones that were our great grandparents. But you know what you find out? Less is more. What you find out is, guess what? You don't need as much food. You don't need as much drink. You don't need as much as you think you do. That's always a fascinating one to me. Is fasting and intermittent fasting is actually more healthy than what we've been told.
Right.
Yeah. It's and John's just put in the chat here, and he's in Ireland. We have a crazy situation in my country where women will pay 80 to 90% of their wage to someone to mind their child, and this is the breakdown of the family that is. And you can plot this. Go to WTF happened in 1971, and you see the divorce rates go up.
Yeah,
the divorce rates just skyrocket after that, and it does come back down to this fiat monetary base where we are being told. I mean, Again, personal analogy. My wife fears the question from her peers and contemporaries. Well, what is it that you do? Well, I've been a housewife since for the last 15 years. Oh, really? What university did you go to? I didn't go to university. I left college at the age of 18, and I went into business travel job in London, and then we moved to Singapore, and then I started doing different jobs. I worked in human resources at Credit Suisse, but that's not good enough for a lot of these women because they've been brainwashed into thinking you have to be a significant part of society, and a lot of it weirdly comes back to the suffragettes winning the vote and all of that. And fine, that's brilliant, absolutely, that was all wrong, but somehow it's been twisted into, well, because you won the vote, now you have to be out and winning a wage. Now you have to be out. You're as good as anybody. Of course, absolutely, 100%. But at the end of the day, if we creating families, this is what I love about the Bitcoin community. You see, Bitcoiner will put out there, how many kids are you going to have? And like a 23-year-old Bitcoin maximalist come back, I'm going to have 5 kids because life is going to be awesome, and I know I'm going to be safe. Whereas many people, I've got 40-year-old friends, never have kids, never, ever had kids because they were unsure about the world that they were going to bring those kids into, and they didn't like the look of it. And it was a fiat world.
You know what? Sorry, I thought you were finished. Please go ahead.
No, I am finished. Go ahead.
All right. So I think it was either earlier this year, it was last year, that I saw a clip from Australian TV where a woman was interviewed, and she said, she was a housewife, and she was focused on supporting her husband. She got up really early, making his lunch and providing breakfast for him and their kids. And she was enjoying this role of really supporting the family. And then he was focused on, going out working and supplying financially. And these journalists in the studio, in the TV, they were mocking her. Like, they were laughing at her and, oh, how terrible it is. What a joke she was for, and she was letting the man, being chauvinist towards her because she was just being this housewife. What a terrible way of thinking by the journalists, clearly.
Yeah, it's a real problem in today's society, this judgment that we all face. I'm a failure if I'm not employed.
Yeah.
What a bunch of nonsense. What's to say,
right? Why
can't I be a stay-at-home dad without that being mocked?
No, you're absolutely right there. And that's the thing. The difference is this. Oh, if you fail, you're a failure because you're a man. All of a sudden you failed as a man. But you're right. And then all of a sudden then where do you go from there? You're absolutely correct.
It reminds me of the fact that I haven't been drinking alcohol for years, but people just don't they don't get it, and you're almost being mocked, and that's why I mainly drink apple juice and just pretend.
Son of a bitch.
I
know
got you,
better.
Publord. I got you.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. No, but no. The point is validated. And you know what the worst part is? One thing. There are women and men that have this view to each other. Is what we're born with. We're born with this in our heart. This view of how we view each other, how we love each other. But we've turned it into this thing where you can't tell anyone that you have this position in life. You can't tell anybody that, you know what? I sort of love the fact that I met this girl that wants to be a mother of children. And I think it's one of the most beautiful things in the world. To be the mother of children, to me, is like one of the greatest things you could ever hope for in life. And we turn it into a shame, and we shouldn't. All right, I'm done.
And no, but it all comes back down to this fiat world that we've been brought up in. To run as fast as you can on the hamster wheel and it all comes. You guys know I have this huge bent on the educational systems that we all get dragged through, and it starts there. These systems are put in place to put us in these sorting trays from a very, very early age. I mean, in France here, they're trying to push through that it's going to be mandatory to go to school from the age of 3 years old. Like, what the hell is that? If nothing but totalitarianism and like nationalism. It is just crazy. And why are they doing that? Because they've got to provide a place safe where the kids can go and learn whilst you go out and work.
Safe.
Right.
I mean, bullying is a thing, no doubt. But I just got an incoming signal that there's a lot of activity on the Bitcoin blockchain. I need to reset my note while I do. You guys carry on. And when I come back, Daniel, I'm really curious to learn more about homeschooling. But I got this note I got to reset for a second, all right?
Yeah. I don't even have I don't even have a note. No, I will say this. Growing up, I never really had, I'll say a final answer. I just never had any answer. I just knew what I liked, what I found interesting when it came to reading. So my point is this. Who I am is more there are people that are born into the world that you realize what is true, what is not true. I knew it was true from the beginning. Now, it took me a while to find the rest of the crowd. It took me almost 40 years to find out about Bitcoin, because the rest of my world was just like bullshit until I found Bitcoin. Honestly, the rest was just bullshit. Once I found Bitcoin, boom, found it. Most people don't know that. Most people don't know that in Bitcoin. They think, how come they don't get it? No, they don't get it. They cannot get it. They physically, mentally cannot get it. You're either born to understand it or you're not. That's all.
That's deep, man.
I know it's deep, but I don't. Hey, Satoshi Nakamoto said it straight, right? I don't have the time to tell you, didn't he? He said, I don't have the time to waste on you. And he was fucking spot on with it. He got it. I believe it. I mean, when he said that, I got it. I got it, and I got it. He's absolutely right.
Wow.
It's tough. It's tough to call. And the more I talk to people, it's the people I talk to that say, what? They don't get it. They don't get it. I don't care that they don't get it anymore. They just don't get it. That's fine. We're the best people in the world, man. We are the best people in the world when it comes down to it. You either get it, you understand it, or you don't, and it's fine.
Do you think?
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to cut in real short and say that right now it's 5 p.m. in Toronto. So shout out to Toronto and the East Coast.
Got
Cheers
it.
to you guys.
Yeah, got it, brother.
And please, Daniel, carry on. I don't know what I missed, but you were saying something.
We Publord and I just had a moment. Yeah, that was a very deep moment. He'll fill you in after the show, I'm sure, or you just have to watch the whole 3 hours back to this point.
We're still going, right? Yeah, we're good.
But okay, Publord.
Yeah.
If we
call me Guy, man. My name's
Guy.
Yeah.
All right. So 20, 30 years from now, when those people that do truly get it and are going to be in positions to make a change, what do you see? How do you see that playing out? Like future Bitcoiners becoming prominent in, I don't want to say government, but in a way a society is structured.
So hey, and fuck you, Anders, because I said this should be a good one as a question.
Yeah, and it wasn't, right?
What I said? No. So what? No. What I'm saying, because we joke about hyper Bitcoinization. We talked about that, but it always comes back. I know, but it comes back to that in a way. Hyper Bitcoinization. How do we transition from where we are to where we're going to be? And that's a tough call, man. It's a tough call. I would say this. Looking forward, there's going to be a transition of value. Value of what you would say is, I don't know, just, I wouldn't say dogma, just say an attempt of having, would you say, like, I wouldn't say hamburger, but you have like meat on a plate. Meat on a plate, now you turn into, how do we turn this meat on a plate into Bitcoin? Now all of a sudden you see that, man, this is gold. Digital gold, or I like to call it digital land. I don't know what you call it. And that's the tough part of it all. What do you say? How do you go there from here? It's hard. People are going to be hurt. And there's no fair answer. But the world has never been fair. The world has never been fair to begin with. So what do you say?
I will say the world has not been nice. I don't know if you can say it's not been. Yeah, no, it's not been fair.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not been fair. It's not been nice.
It hasn't been fair. It's been rigged. It's been completely rigged.
Oh, fuck. It's in Denmark, World War II. Oh, not fair either. Listen, it's not fair. It's not anything. It is. Listen, either you get it, or you don't get it. Or if you don't, sometimes it doesn't work out for you. That's the hard part of it all.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. Bitcoin is interesting in a way because it's the first time, it's the most honest thing in the world. It's honesty. The first truthful thing you'll ever see. They just come, bam. Now what do you do? What do you do with it? Yeah, go ahead.
I want to expand on that, bam, and interrupt with a little question in relation to that. And John M is asking, does Publord actually own a pub? I think that's a question that everyone's been wondering about.
Oh, why would you never own a pub when you can just buy the beer wherever you go?
Yes.
Consumer ownership.
Have you ever? So apparently, someone's never owned a pub before because that gets expensive,
right?
No, so let's look forward here. when I talk about Bitcoin moving forward, what I find most interesting is the value proposition cannot be touched ever. You can't touch the value of it, and that's hard to say, that's hard for most people to understand. The value is, as it moves forward in life, it grows and grows and grows. That's it.
Right.
I hope that makes sense for you, but maybe not.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I do want to thank you for. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
but I do want to thank you for bringing the three of us together, Publord. It's really nice to meet Daniel, and I hope to meet you also real life, Daniel. I don't know if by any chance you'll be coming to Bitcoin 2021 in Los Angeles. I believe end of April next year.
It's not. It's doubtful. It's doubtful.
No, we'll figure out a way to get together, our group. But my point was this: when it comes to Bitcoin, man, all bets are off. I'm going full $100,000 by next year. There you go. You want your price prediction? $100,000 by the end of next year.
Yeah, end of next year. That's I would say definitely a possibility. 100,000 by the end of next year. But because stock to flow is growing slower, still growing significantly, but slower, and the bull run will take longer time, I think that top of above 200,000 will be Q1 2022. But 100,000 end of next year is I think very reasonable.
Okay, I'm sorry, I meant 200,000.
Publord is getting more and more bullish.
Yeah,
bullish. I love it.
He's getting more and more bullish with every breath.
Every breath you,
every breath you take.
All right, so I just want
the time you sell your house, then. And
what's the question I wanted to pose was, when there are going to become some very, very wealthy Bitcoiners in the next 3 to 5 years, and if they start to get into position and how to structure societies, what do you think? How do you think that plays out? And have you thought about it before? Have you thought about because if Bitcoin is just going to disrupt the monetary system, that's probably not enough. We've got this, we're going to have to dismantle the whole thing, and
I think
burn it in the fuck Ben Hunt.
I think everyone can agree that power stems from money, and what we're doing now is we're separating state and money, and they don't have a choice because this is decentralized, and therefore, no doubt, power is going to go to the people, and I guess what you're talking about is people with a lot of Bitcoin will have more power, and that's no different than usual. That the more money you have, the more freedom you have, and to some extent more power. So, but what I'm comfortable with is, from all the Bitcoiners I know, the kind of codex and morals and ethics, it's very solid, sound, and positive. And Bitcoiners getting more influence is going to be a fantastic thing, I think. And even regardless, it's just having sound money and letting deflation run in society and having people's value of their salary go up every year, and their savings, the value of that going up every year with the speed of GDP growth. It's just going to create, as Jeff Booth says, a world of abundance. So I'm extremely positive. How government is going to be, that's not something I haven't thought so much about, but maybe, Daniel, you have some ideas. Publord, what about you?
Oh, with Jeff Booth, was he had the Price of Tomorrow, which I read, which I love the fact his views on deflationary currency. it's something that no one ever talks about. Deflationary currency is something that no one talks about. We have with of course Bitcoin. Moving forward, man, where do we go? I think we do what we always do. Every day we teach each other a little bit more about life, about Bitcoin, and we share that. We share that and we go ahead, because what I don't want is a community where we just get stuck, where we talk about the only things that interest us, not what interests us, the people.
Now, the reason I ask that question is my daughter asked me the other day, okay, Daddy, you're always going on about Bitcoin, always going on about the government and, you know, what the things that they're doing and the systems they're putting in place. And you've always got a beef with it. What would you do if you were in power? And without even thinking about it, and I've never had an answer to this question before, I said I'd work very, very hard, tirelessly, to make sure that my job never existed for anybody else ever again.
That's a nice answer too. Thanks for embarrassing me in front of the world. But yeah.
What? Why? No, that's deep. I love how our conversation has gone from.
He set me up for a pit. I want to cut the guys right out from underneath him. he knows it. It's good.
No, I was just being a respectful guest and let you answer Anders' question first. That's all.
What's interesting here, because we have to meet, because my daughter, she's absolutely brilliant, mostly because of her mother. Rides horses. She skis down Black Diamonds from Florida. But I think she and Lauren will be great friends. I hope 100%. One day yeah, absolutely, dude. I want that to happen. So anyway, I was making a joke there, but yeah.
But I think that is, when I put a bit more thought into it, I think that is what needs to happen. When somebody does get into that position of power, I think they're going to put a lot of work into decentralizing everything, because this is our ethos, and just breaking down this pyramid of power, and just one at a time.
But when have you seen one example of when they turn it in?
This is true.
Everything is turned into everything is a constellation of power. That's all. I've never seen it before. We haven't. That's why we love Bitcoin. We get it.
Bitcoin is fantastic. I mean, what a wonderful thing to have happened to the world. I never understood how terrible the fiat regime was. I didn't like it. I felt there was something wrong. I remember when I started studying economics for the first time, which was in high school, and I loved everything I learned, except when it came to money. And I was disagreeing with my teacher, who was, of course, Keynesian, and saying that we should definitely, if things are not good, let's take on debt. That let's borrow money and spend a lot of money. And I'm like, but you spend that money, but as soon as it gets in the hands of someone, 80% of that goes to to imports. That money, I don't know what the number is, but a lot of that money, as soon as it's spent, is going overseas, because you're buying stuff that is being imported. That's a big part of all economies, is imported goods. So taking on debt to have like the first touch of that money before it leaves the country just seems like a terrible idea.
You know the answer better than me, man.
What do you think, Daniel?
It's the system is just so done, so rotten to the core, that until we can help more and more people wake up to what Bitcoin is, and to Bitcoin being a tool to reclaim your time and store your wealth that you've, and it's a weird one to use that, because when you say store of wealth, people think you are wealthy, and that's not to store.
Right.
To store the money you have worked your ass off to get.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I don't care if it's $1, a euro, a yen, a lira, whatever it is that you've, if you can put aside 10% of whatever wage you are getting, if you can put that is a store of wealth. That is a store of value. Whatever you're left with at the end of the week, at the end of the month, doesn't matter how small it is. If you can store that, that's what Bitcoin is. And I think store of wealth or store of value is kind of misleading and elitist, and we could probably do with some work around, that language.
Store of savings. I don't know, but I think it's a great point. I think that, no financial advice. We're clearly just doing entertainment here. It's hardly even education. Well, I'm joking, but. What I like to say is, spend what it is you have to spend to keep your, pay your bills. But it makes a lot of sense that whatever you have left over, and try and have as much left over as possible, buy Bitcoin with it, because that's the only way you can transfer your savings to the future. You can't with fiat currency. How can you even consider you can? Because it's a public policy that we will dilute the value of your fiat currency every year. How can you even consider not to throw everything you have in Bitcoin?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just looking at the chat here. Mervin said, that's the biggest counter I get trying to convert friends. I don't have extra money to invest. And then John's saying, yeah, exactly. They probably buy coffee and cigarettes. Of course, for anybody watching, you're going to have to, Bitcoin's the biggest mindfuck to the top side that you could ever ask for. It's going to stop your high time preference bullshit of buying too many cigarettes. I've only drunk 2 beers tonight. Usually, 5 years ago that would have been 4 or 5, right? But
whoa, I don't know. You tell me.
I think that's the story, Daniel. You're British. I don't believe you when you say 4 or 5. But let's keep it sober. But
the high time shit that you spend your money on, the amount of stories that come out of the Bitcoin community, guys in their 20s that have given up smoking, given up drinking, given up cocaine, or given up marijuana, or given up
good for them.
Going out on a Friday night, and instead stay in on a Friday night and join in like Al's Dirtbag Friday or something, a Zoom call with a couple of beers at home, saving themselves $100, and the rest goes into sats. These are the guys that are understanding that this thing is a store of, I'm looking for the word, store of wealth, store of value. We've got a store of.
And so why the fuck you messing around with us, man? You should be out there on the front lines, letting the guys come in. Hey, no more drinking for you, my friend.
But Pablo, we gotta have a good time, and being with Bitcoiners is one of the best times you can have.
Yes, I know this.
I will say that right now, the most valuable thing coming out of this pandemic, lockdown, and everything is the fact that it's become a lot harder to spend money. It's easier to save money when you can't go out to the same extent as before, and at the same time they're sending stimulus checks to Bitcoiners who transfer everything into Bitcoin. So this is, it's great for Bitcoiners to save money, buy more sats. And what a great example Publord is, throwing that whole stimulus check into a Bitcoin, and you tweeted it out. And that $1,200 stimulus checks, how much is that in fiat currency now?
Whoa. Not complaining or anything, but yeah, probably close to 2,000 US. I don't know. 1,900. I don't know.
Look at that. I mean,
I
just
went
crazy.
full on Bitcoin. It was bullshit. They give me a check. Yeah, I'm going in Bitcoin on that one. Yeah, so there we go.
Love it. They print it, you'll stack it.
You print it. I put it right underneath there. Boom.
Can I say one thing? I really feel that Bitcoin is financial poetry. That's
Okay,
it.
go on.
No, that's it. That's the statement.
It's
Financial
karma.
poetry.
That's
It's
a pretty
financial karma.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's truth, baby. I always call it truth. You can't lie about it. Bitcoin doesn't lie. Bitcoin, it is full truth. You can pretend you know Bitcoin. You pretend you have it. You either have it or you don't have it. Bitcoin don't lie, baby.
It's right there on the blockchain.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to have to call it a night because it's getting to 11:30 here. And I definitely...
Yep. There's no way this is going to be a good time tonight. 3 hours on. 3 hours on, right?
3 hours this was a solid 20 minutes. Yeah. Around 3 hours, 20 minutes almost, I think. And what the viewers don't know was that this was a competition of who could last the longest on the stream. And Daniel is throwing in the towel.
He's good, man.
So he's got a note. He's got a reset. I know.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta go get some beauty sleep. I'm not used to. I only usually do audio. I don't usually do these face appearances. So I got to go get some beauty sleep. I don't like how I look on camera.
No, well, it's been great seeing you, Daniel. Let me
yeah.
But Daniel, so before you go, final words. What's coming up on Once BITten, your podcast? What else is going on? Whatever you want to plug. Now's your time.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Go find the podcast Once BITten. That's on all the usual places that you can find a podcast. If you go follow me at Princey1976 on Twitter, then I post all of the episodes there, but you can subscribe on Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever. I've got interviews to release with a young man called Jesse Berger, who's just written a book called Magic Internet Money. I think this is going to be a really awesome book for people to pass around to noobs. He's done a really brilliant job of trying to distill Bitcoin in as good a way possible. There's a lot of chapters in the book, but they're very, very short chapters. And we know Bitcoin touches a lot of subjects and sectors. Phil Gibson is coming on the show. He has his own podcast, A Boy Named Sue, and he did a song called End the Fed, which is a brilliant song. So he's going to come on and talk about that. Corey Clipston, that's been recorded. He's going to come on and talk about Swan Signal. We do not talk about Plan B and the S2F argument. We talk all about the positivity of Swan because Corey and Jan, who wrote the book you talked about earlier on,
it's Jan Pritzker's book. Yeah, phenomenal.
So they were early guests on the show. So Corey's coming back on, and we're going to talk about how Swan has grown into what it has, and DCA, and the people that he's got working. Ed Cook is coming on to teach us how to learn 12 to 24 words in less than 10 minutes. Joe Dirte, who is a character on Twitter, one of these guys that just is a bit of a lurker. He's going to come on. Really good fun with him. Got Michael Saylor booked. He's going to come on and have a chat. And
Michael Saylor in the house, really?
Yeah, Michael Saylor's in the house.
Oh,
he's
my
going to come on the show. He's coming on in a few weeks. And then I'm going to do a follow-up with Michael Saylor and Jeff Booth double act. So that's I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, now you tell us.
Do not miss Once BITten. The link is right below in the description on YouTube. This is something you got to experience. Yeah.
I also have another pro athlete coming on who is very, very active right now. He's the top 10 of his sport, and he's gunning to be world champion, and he's stacking sats, and he's going to come on and talk about his journey. So I won't give too many more spoilers, but yeah, stay tuned. There's a lot of good shit coming.
Dear God.
Sounds mind-blowingly awesome, Daniel. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Thanks,
and
guys.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure to meet you and to talk Bitcoin, society, everything with you. And I really, you got to come on again. We got to do another Toxic Happy Hour soon, whenever you have time.
Whenever, guys, let me know if you're ever struggling for guests. You're going to be inundated pretty soon. I'm sure Safe's going to be knocking down your door. So
we're struggling. We're struggling already. They've seen our faces. So.
Yeah.
We're good.
I'm getting some guesses. Formula One, no. UFC, no. And John and Mervin and who's the other guy? BTC Moon guy. Thanks for interacting on the chat. If I'm not following you on Twitter yet, please make sure you follow me so I can follow you back. And take care, brother. Thanks so much, guys.
Cheers.
Take care.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Guys out there, keep stacking sats, and don't forget not to store more value in fiat currency than you can afford to lose. All right? See you guys later. Brother. Thanks for hanging out. I don't think... so Publord, we're still live. I don't think anyone has watched 3.5 hours of this, but we had fun. This is about you and I and different good Bitcoiners just talking Bitcoin and having a good time.
I don't know what the fuck you want me to say, man. We just talked for 3.5 fucking hours. I don't know what you want me to say. God damn.
Yeah, nothing more. You can say your final words, and I'll take it off.
We're still live? No.
No, I told you, man. I told you. So
just finishing up, man. Just finishing up. I'm ready to roll. Can't wait till tomorrow. We try this again. We'll see.
I want to thank everyone for everyone who's been watching this, and all you guys in the chat interacting, throwing good questions and comments. Really, thanks a lot, guys. We're doing it for you guys. And we're having a lot of fun, and great to meet a guy like Daniel today.
He's good.
Yeah. Thanks for setting that up, Publord. That was really great. Right, so we'll have him back on. So, all right, guys, keep stacking sats, and see you next time. Bye.